In the wee hours of the morning, Donald Trump declared that Joe Biden's pardons of Fauci, Milley, the J6 committee, and his family are all hereby voided, vacated, saying that because Joe Biden used an auto pen, we actually don't know that Joe Biden signed these things. And so if that's the case, it's not official. Not official. Now there are legal challenges, but with Dan Bongino now officially as of today joining the FBI, questions over whether or not there's actually going to be moves made against the J6 committee, possibly Anthony Fauci. We shall see. Now, the big news has been going on all day, has to do with over the weekend, Donald Trump, his administration deported a bunch of Tren de Aragua. And as the plane was in midair, a district court judge ordered the plane to turn around and bring those people back. I kid you not, Democrats are actually arguing that a lower court, an inferior court judge has equal powers to the president. That is, when the president is engaged in international relations right now with El Salvador, a judge can overwrite the agreement between a president and a foreign country. Because that judge is saying Trump's got to bring back the alleged criminals. Now, it's crazy. There was a court case and the judge was apparently furious. I can't believe that a judge actually tried making that argument. We'll talk about that. Then a bunch of other news, massive swattings. I think we got 5 more swattings targeting prominent individuals. And then the polls from CNN and NBC News. My friends, would you be surprised at all if I told you the Democratic Party's polling is at the lowest it's ever been? No, you're not surprised at all? Okay, well, we all saw that one coming. In NBC, it was CNN's poll over which Democrat embodies Democratic values the most. Guess who won? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with a whopping 10%. That's it. I say the Democratic Party is absolutely crushed. Despite the fact that Trump's approval rating in the NBC poll was still down 4 points, the nation's view of whether or not we are on the right track is the highest it's been in 20 years. So it's an interesting dynamic. We'll talk about that and everything else. Before we get started, my friends, we got a great sponsor. It is Beam Dream. Go to shopbeam, BEAM.com/Tim Pool. Guys, for many of you, sleep struggle is real. You're wired after a long day, tossing and turning. You wake up at 3 a.m. Your brain keeps you awake. It seriously impacts your focus and energy. Now there's Beam, specifically the Dream product. Think guilt-free, delicious hot chocolate with natural sleep-supporting ingredients like magnesium and L-theanine. No sugar, low calorie, tastes amazing. You drink it before bed and the difference is huge. Fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up actually feeling rested with no grogginess. When incorporating Beam Dream into your nightly routine, you could notice a significant improvement in how refreshed you feel each morning and how much more productive you are during the day. Wake up before your alarm and feel like a better version of yourself. Go to shopbeam.com/TimPool for up to 35% off today. Use promo code TimPool. And I got to stress, I've been talking about the sleep for the past few weeks. You need your deep sleep for your muscle regeneration. You need your REM for your brain. Don't take your sleep for granted, man. A lot of people are talking about all this healthy stuff they do, and they're like, I can't, it doesn't work. I've been exercising, I'm eating right, but it's not working because you're not getting sleep or hydration, but sleep is a big factor. Now, before we go into the rest of the traditional shout-outs, Milo Yiannopoulos' cat, Troy, has gone missing, and I would be remiss if I did not put out this message so that y'all who actually care and want to save this cat, it's the Silver Lake area. This is in the Los Angeles area. I've pinned this tweet to my profile. The reward is now up to $25,000. No questions asked. Just bring the kitty, Troy, back to Milo. There's more information on X, Milo @NERO, tweeted this out. And then pinned on my profile, I have also offered $10,000 to the reward, upping it to now $25,000. Politics have nothing to do with a lost kitty, my friends. Let's help find this cat. Y'all know that we went through it pretty rough with Mr. Bokus, and a lot of people super chatted us saying they'd spend any amount of money to save the life of their friend who was sick or scared or otherwise. And I am sad to hear that Milo is going through this, and hopefully someone in the Los Angeles area may actually spot this cat. And maybe by blasting it out here on Timcast IRL, someone may get word of it. And just maybe, you might find this cat and find yourself $25,000 richer for having saved this cat's life. I hope that really does help. Shout out, Milo. Wish you the best. I hope you can find your cat. I hope everybody can help out. Also, don't forget Cast Brew Coffee. You can buy Cast Brew Coffee. Ian's Graphene Dream still sold out, but Appalachian Nights, Rise with Roberto Jr., and Stand Your Grounds are available. And, of course, don't forget, go to timcastpremium.com, sign up for Rumble Premium using promo code TIM10 so you can watch the Green Room podcast behind the scenes, which today was raucous. I was just banging on the table talking about how Voldemort sucked and video games being woke and terrible. I was just you'll enjoy it. Go watch the Green Room. It's at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Should be up in about an hour or so. But we're going to have that members-only uncensored show up tonight at 10 as well, where y'all as members of the Timcast Discord can call in and talk to us and our guests. So smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Eleazar Perez.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name's Eleazar Perez. I engage in what I call street debates. So I go into liberal planets or cities, states, whatever you want to call it, and I destroy their worldviews face to face. It gets confrontational, it gets aggressive, it gets controversial. I don't hold back. If you want to see my work, I do host the best street debates on planet Earth. Go to streetdebates.com or find me on YouTube, Eleazar Perez.
And I guess that right now everybody is raving about how you owned Sam Cedar.
I did indeed.
You owned him.
He's my slave.
Everybody's asking me about it because they know that like Sam won't shut up about me, and I'm like, I've seen some clips, but it's like I really don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
But I heard it was good. I heard he couldn't answer any basic philosophical questions, and I've been there. So we'll
I think the camera actually didn't do it justice, because when I was in the room with him and he was locked in there with me, the amount that he stuttered and the amount, like the fear I saw on his face to face, they kind of zoomed out whenever that happened. And he like really froze up. He froze up multiple times, but I guess they helped him.
They like edited it to make it look...
to make it look not as bad. It was good for him.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know him, you love him. Elaad is here.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? My name is Elaad Eliyahu. I am the White House correspondent here at Timcast. It's nice to see you again, Tim.
You were just at the White House.
I was at the White House today for the first time at the White House press briefing room, thanks to the company here and hard work over at the Trump administration. Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary for Trump, is phenomenal and doing a great job over there and holding a tight ship and doing an excellent job. And I look forward to be covering more of her press briefings moving forward. Mr. Stanley Jr.
Hey, guys, it's Raymond G. Stanley Jr. I am the local blue collar here. I'm also a common sense revolutionary. Phil.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's go.
Here's a story from ABC News. Trump claims Biden's pardon for January 6th committee are void. Legal experts disagreed. Oh, do they really? I love this subheader. He alleged without evidence they are invalid because signed by AutoPen. I just want to, just real quick, like what ABC News? He alleged without evidence that they're invalid because signed by AutoPen? So there's no evidence to that. It was signed with AutoPen. What are you talking about? That's a fact. The question is whether or not it should be legal or not whether or not it's true. We know it's true. These people are nuts. They have to insert this thing everywhere they go because they're insane. All right, anyway, in a late-night social media post, Trump claimed, without evidence, President Joe Biden used an AutoPen to sign the pardons, and so he considered them hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect. Trump, who made retribution against his perceived political enemies a focal point of his campaign, he did not, actually, said the committee members should fully understand that they are subject to investigation at the highest level, despite no findings of wrongdoing. There's not been an investigation of wrongdoing. Wow, ABC, you are really gargling vomit on this one. Alexandra Hutzler, she's just, you know what's funny is like, I don't understand why these people are bashing their faces on the table to defend Joe Biden. Like, what about this woman who wrote this is just like, I love Joe, and like is going to write an article this way. Anyway, despite his claims, legal experts told ABC News that Trump does not have the power to overturn Biden's actions. Indeed, he does not. The question is, did Biden take those actions, not whether or not Trump can overturn them. A president's clemency power is vested in Article 2 of the Constitution and is broad and virtually unlimited, said Jeffrey Crouch. Indeed, I agree. Its few restrictions include that it can only apply to federal offenses and can't interfere with the impeachment powers of Congress. In 1929, a memo by the Solicitor General to the Attorney General on pardons held that neither the Constitution nor any statutes prescribes the method by which executive clemency shall be exercised or evidenced. It is wholly a matter of the president to decide as a practical question, blah, blah, blah. You see, this is what they're doing. This is what the media does. The question is not, does Donald Trump have the power to overturn a pardon? The question is, did Joe Biden actually sign these pardons, or was it Hunter Biden himself who pardoned himself?
And they totally gloss over that point, like, because they don't want the reader to actually ask that question. Because if the auto pen is actually how they're signed, and apparently that is the case, if that is the case, then there's no reason to be confident that it was actually the president signing them. And if it's not the president, then anything that or at least if it's not the president or the president directing them to do that, then it's completely reasonable to say, look, this wasn't the president doing it. This was one of the staffers. And there's no reason to believe that Joe Biden even knew about it, because Joe Biden was clearly, cognitively impaired.
I think what you said there at the end is kind of what the most important part. Like, because there are so many questions surrounding whether or not Joe Biden was senile, especially towards the end. I mean, if they're willing to swap this guy out, who really knows what were happening with these pardons at the end of the day when some of his staffers were just using auto pen. So, yeah, who knows who actually directed any of these? Well, we're assuming he was at least involved with the Hunter Biden pardon, but towards the end there, if he wasn't good enough to kind of be the Democrats' candidate, was he in his right mind enough to be signing off on these or telling other people to sign off on them with a copy of his signature?
There's no reason to say that it's impossible that Jill Biden was doing it.
I think it was Joe Biden.
For the family stuff.
I think Jill did it. I think Joe was sitting there going, "Brr."
Yeah. I think there needs to be an investigation to how competent Joe Biden is, and all of the people who are in Congress and Senate who are willing to kind of just gloss over this fact. The fact that they were willing, again, the Democrats were willing to swap this guy out so late into the game for Kamala Harris, a really poor candidate, really speaks to how compromised Joe Biden was mentally. And there are a lot of people in Congress, many elected officials, who are willing to ride this ship for whatever reason to cover for Joe Biden in an attempt to grab power. So I think there's something to be said about the people who allowed the presidency to continue with a guy who wasn't really there. There's something to say also about Kamala Harris not invoking the 25th Amendment.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
I'm not sure. I don't know if that's illegal or not. I don't know if there's it's her duty, but I don't know if not invoking the 25th Amendment is breaking a law.
Well, she didn't invoke the 25th because then whoever she chose as her VP would invoke the 25th on her.
And
that might be the problem with the 25th.
Wasn't that Sunday? Sunday, all the pundits for the left are like, Joe, he's sharp as a tack. That Sunday, everyone, that morning of, he's so smart, he knows what's going on. But then by the end of the day, this weird, mysterious tweet comes out.
Now you've got Tapper, who
wrote a book
being like, I can't believe they covered this up, just like the New York Times put out that story. We were lied to about the COVID origins. Like, no. You guys were lying to yourselves. You're nuts.
Moreover, I just listened to an interview with Chuck Schumer where he still said, like, no, every time I saw Joe Biden, he was very well put together and everything seemed fine until the debate. So apparently we're supposed to believe that everything was la-di-da and great and Joe Biden was completely competent and coherent just until the debate. And that was the first time anybody's ever seen Joe Biden in that state, which is ridiculous. And again, people like Chuck Schumer, I don't know how he has the gall to say that right now, the chutzpah, frankly, to say that.
I think that Chuck Schumer would say whatever he believes he has to say. Chuck Schumer's on thin ice as it is.
Did you see they're calling for AOC to primary him?
Yeah. And I mean, look, it's
that gives Republicans a chance in New York. I mean, if AOC to run for Senate,
you think so?
In the CNN,
if it were AOC, yes. Yeah.
In the CNN poll, AOC's number 1 at 10%, and Kamala Harris is number 2 at 9%. Which means the prospects for 2028 right now are Ocasio-Cortez Harris for the presidential ticket.
The best thing for Republicans would be for AOC and these progressives to lead the party. Frankly, the moderates like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have a better shot against Republicans, I believe, than people like AOC. AOC is a proud socialist, as she would say. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't call himself.
You're right about that, but I think that it's because the only people that are going to get significant donations from the large backers and from the people that actually keep PACs afloat are going to be people that don't want to take your property away. So people like AOC, the far left, they would push for policies that would harm people that have money because they believe that it is wrong for there to be billionaires. The far left of the Democrat Party actually believes that every billionaire is a policy error, and they would expropriate their property given the opportunity. That means they're not going to get donations.
What I love is that and the rumors are Vladimir Putin is the wealthiest man on the planet. They say he's worth something. Yeah, you never heard that?
I've heard it, but
$700 billion.
I always thought that it would be like the Saudi royal family, like the king of Saudi Arabia.
No, I think Putin makes a lot of sense.
Yeah?
They argue that most of his wealth is hidden by the Russian government, but that because of his control of the system, his wealth is estimated maybe near $700 billion.
Wow.
My point is, whether or not that's true, certainly heads of state have tremendous, massive power. They sit here and they complain. Donald Trump, what was it the Krasenstein's tweeting about? Donald Trump's flying on Marine One to go play golf or something. And they're like, that flight's going to cost $2 million. And I was like, so to all the liberals who are upset about the billionaires, they want to consolidate all of that power and wealth within the government and then have a president who has 500 times more power. Is that your point? They might argue, but at least they're accountable. No. We can sue anybody. Everybody's accountable here. There's no argument. They're nuts. Whatever.
In all fairness, the golfing is kind of worth it because Trump works hard and he needs to rest. So take some of that stress off. He's going to come back the next day better.
He has been busy.
He deserves
busy,
it.
yeah.
Trump deserves it.
So it's a good cost.
Did you guys see Trump was golfing while he ordered that Houthi strike, and then like they showed him like a video of it as it's happening in his golf setup, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, great, all right, next shot."
And did you see that interview he did last year with Tim Pool, where he said he would not bomb Yemen?
I did see that.
I'm glad he had a change of heart.
No, but I see. Dave Smith tweeted it out, and with all due respect, because Dave is a smart guy, the circumstances are a bit different between now and then. The bombing of American vessels and ships has changed the circumstances, so now it's getting a bit more intense.
I think 90% of world shipping was avoiding the Red Sea as a result of Houthi actions. All it takes is for one of these ships to have damage to them, for any insurance company to just say, F this, I am not risking it at all.
If I understand correctly, there's already a lot of companies that have started going around Africa, and that doesn't get you out of the danger zone either, because if you go around Africa, you still have to deal with the coast of Somalia. So it makes sense that the United States will step in and say, all right, look, if you're going to attack this shipping lane, this is the entire world uses the Red Sea and the...
Yes, but if you go around Africa, you can always stop in Cape Town for a traditional stop for a good drink.
That sounds...
Serge is shaking his head no.
And we had that big old...
expensive.
That big ship to get stuck in the Suez Canal for a while there.
That was driven by a woman, though.
Was it really?
Then,
I don't know.
No.
Did you guys see Trump put out a Truth Social where he said a further attack by the Houthis would be construed as an attack by Iran? So this is liable to escalate quickly.
All right.
We might need to pull another Qasem Soleimani strike, inshallah.
I do want to jump to the next story, but I just want to stress for everybody watching, 1 like equals how many years y'all want Fauci in prison for. So on YouTube, it's up to 3,137. And on Rumble, it's up to 883. So, every time you hit that like button, you're saying 1 more year, Fauci. You have 1 more year.
Let's get those likes up.
All right. So here's another story. So not only did Donald Trump end or declare the pardons for the for the Biden family void, he's now ended Secret Service protections for Ashley and Hunter Biden.
Good.
Quote, please be advised that effective immediately, Hunter Biden will no longer receive Secret Service protection. Likewise, Ashley Biden, who has 13 agents, will be taken off the list. 13 agents. Wow. Jeez.
Did Trump Jr. have them the last 4 years? Did Eric have them the last 4 years? I really don't know.
Well, so Mr. President has truthed. He says Hunter Biden has had Secret Service protection for an extended period of time, all paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. There are as many as 18 people on this detail, which is ridiculous. He is currently vacationing in, of all places, South Africa, where the human rights of people has been strenuously questioned. Because of this, South Africa has been taken off our list of countries receiving economic and financial assistance. Please be advised that effective immediately, Hunter Biden will no longer receive Secret Service protection. Likewise, Ashley Biden, who has 13 agents, will be taken off the list. I know that the Democrats are going to say this is Trump getting retaliation against his political opponents. I just don't know why these people deserve de facto lifetime Secret Service, so I'm not sure I should care.
No.
And the left are the violent ones. Like we've been chill out. The right, nothing's been going on lately for the most part. They're the ones who's going crazy on Tesla and everything else in the world. Like they're the aggressive folks.
Do we see people swatting Ashley and Hunter Biden consistently? As we're seeing it happen to every right wing commentator apparently.
Well, what you'll see from leftists is they don't actually hold any views. Like, they don't have any beliefs. They just do the antithetical position of whatever the other position believes in.
I'm not Sam Sater. Yeah. Don't come murk me.
But that explains the whole Biden administration. Donald Trump was president.
Right.
The only thing they had was, we are going to do the opposite. We will stop Trump. Then they get in, and they have nothing.
Yeah, they repealed, Biden undid legitimately good policies. They were executive orders that Donald Trump had made, but they were still good policies, like the Remain in Mexico policy. That was a good policy, and he repealed it because it was just the assumption was if Donald Trump did it, we undo it, and that means we're good, which is a terrible, terrible way to run a country.
There's a little bit something a little bit ironic about this article too. It's backwards how we're kind of publicly stating like, oh yeah, Joe Biden's kids, they no longer have Secret Service agents protecting them. It's probably like the worst thing you'd want to have published if you were to lose your Secret Service protection.
Well, Trump straight up announced it in his formal, social platform.
Yeah, not good for people who now lost Secret Service protection.
They're fine. They're super rich. They can hire and afford private security. I mean, Homeboy was selling paintings for what, like $500,000? Yep. Bro, that means one painting and you got 24-hour security detail for the year.
I read that the
they're terrible
market for those paintings crashed.
That's right. That's right.
You don't say.
I read that. Do you guys want to buy a? I'm kidding. I can't fund him.
His father's not in office anymore, and people don't want to pay that much money for those paintings.
Now that Elaad's got a White House press pass, he's got some paintings for sale, and the prices just went up
Dramatically.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So look, they say Donald Trump is getting revenge and stuff and things like this. It's weird that we have to protect the Biden family, that we have to pay for their protection. Did the Democrats want to play the game of the Trump administration and all its law enforcement are evil and fascistic, and that they should also have armed men with guns surrounding Joe Biden's family? I mean, wouldn't this be a relief to them?
I mean, I understand that it's normal for a president to continue getting Secret Service protection, but I was unaware that families got Secret Service protection post their tenure as president.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Is that normal?
I don't know. I think Trump should take away all the protective details. And let me tell you about good old Chicago. The politicians were allowed to carry guns. People weren't until the DC versus Heller ruling, which allowed people the right to keep and bear arms outside their homes. So I grew up in this city where it was shocking how cops would arrest people for, I'm not talking about gangbangers. They'd be like a dad who's scared because of all the crime. He'd buy a gun. You can't do it. It's illegal in Illinois. But the politicians were allowed to carry. They make special rules for themselves the whole time. I don't look, I get it. Security can be crazy if you're high profile, and these people certainly are. But I say make them live like regular people. You want to enter the fray in the way you did. You can live like everybody else.
But I mean, would you say they entered the fray or their parents did?
They did. Hunter Biden was working for his dad.
Sure. As far as Ashley Biden, though?
Ashley, well, wasn't she also working with the family?
I think she just had that diary stuff. I don't know if she was.
To what extent she was actively involved? You're right. She should have never had Secret Service protection from the beginning, from the get-go.
Yeah.
So Grok says that children of former presidents, protection is typically provided until they reach the age of 16, though this can be extended under certain circumstances. So apparently, no, adult children
So they're
don't
just
normally.
That's weird.
If there's a specific security concern or if the former president requests it, adult children might receive protection for a limited time after the presidency ends. Historically, this has happened. Adult children like Chelsea Clinton and the Bush daughters receive protection for a period after their fathers left office, though it's not a lifetime guarantee unless special circumstances.
I just think, I don't even know why we're even talking about the Secret Service. They're not going to need Secret Service when they're in prison. I don't know why Ashley Biden would go to prison, to be honest. Did she do anything? I don't think so, right?
That diary, the Democrats might arrest her for the stuff she wrote in that diary.
Because it exposed Joe?
I don't know. Arrest her dad.
I don't know. Yeah.
Hunter. Ooh, he's got some potentialities.
Hunter needs
there.
Secret Service to protect him from the police.
To protect him from himself.
No, because he doesn't have any firearms anymore. Did they stripped him of he got in trouble because he had the firearm.
He did.
No, because wasn't it like his ex-wife threw it in a garbage can outside of a school?
She got rid of it for him, yeah.
He might
that his
need
ex-wife?
protection if he doesn't have the firearm.
But he lied on his 4470 on the form 4473.
Which is a whole different topic and terrible.
I'm so disappointed with that. I wanted him to win. I wanted Hunter to win that one because it would get the forms effectively abolished. Do you know about this?
No.
When Hunter, so apparently he bought a gun and it asked him if he was a drug user and he said no, and he lied because he is. And then his lawyers argued, yes, but that day he had just quit, and then a day later he started again. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, so he was using drugs the whole time. I wanted him to win that, and conservatives were like, go to prison, and I'm like, no. He should appeal to the Supreme Court and win, and he had it thrown out under the argument that it is self-incriminatory, that the government is demanding you incriminate yourself in order to purchase a weapon. You shouldn't have to do that. That violates the Fifth Amendment, right?
Yes.
And it's also like in some states, pot is legal, but federally it's still not legal. So even if it's your state, it's illegal. Federally, they ask you about federal drugs,
Well, sure, but
which is still terrible.
it shouldn't matter because the government can't make you self-incriminate.
Yep.
And so right now, anybody who wants to buy a gun anywhere in the country has to fill out the NICS form where it asks you if you are actively committing crimes. And then if you say yes, they say you can't buy a weapon. That's a violation of my rights.
What if I jaywalk?
Well, that's not on the form.
I'm just saying.
It doesn't say, have you ever
crime.
like committed a petty misdemeanor? I think doesn't even qualify as a misdemeanor. Jaywalking is like a petty offense, where it's like your worst. It's only punishable by fine. Cop will write you a ticket for $30. Don't jaywalk.
Unless you're in England, then they'll arrest you.
Yeah, and then the bobbies will run out and beat you.
Get in trouble for having a knife in England. But look, the idea that the Biden family needs to have protection, they're not actually in danger. There's not a lot of people that are after the Bidens. There's not a whole lot of reason for people to go after Ashley or Hunter Biden. The right is not intent on attacking the family of former presidents. If this were someone on the right, yeah, the left has been extremely violent lately. There's a lot of swattings that are going on and a lot of the multiple attacks on Donald Trump's life when he was running. So it might make sense if this were a former Republican president, but there's no serious threat to Joe Biden or his family.
I don't think anybody cares about the Bidens anymore.
I'm gonna say that's old news.
Yeah, like even the quote unquote voiding of the pardons, everyone's saying Fauci. Nobody's talking about Hunter.
Yeah, I mean he's not. Well, Joe Biden isn't even influential anymore. So like, maybe someone could have made an argument after President Obama left because he was still influential, right? I wouldn't say now, but for a few years after, he had young daughters and he was still very influential. Joe Biden, everyone knows that he's kind of not there. Everyone knows that Hunter's, kind of a mess. If he's got money, he's probably going to blow it on nefarious things, but it's not going to be something where he's going to have an impact, nationally or internationally. They're just kind of a non-issue. So I don't see why it's anything other than Trump bad.
I just think
bad.
I think it's related to the pardons. I think the intention is Trump is going to go after. I mean, there's a reason Biden pardoned these people. Hold on, I'm sorry. There's a reason why an intern masquerading as Joe Biden pardoned these people. Sorry about that, guys. And I think this is opening the door to. Look, man, I've been saying a lot. Kash Patel is a moderate guy. He's not. He never came on these shows and said, "I'm gonna go after these people." He was saying, "No, we just need crimes to be dealt with. We need the FBI to do their job, be law enforcement." He even when it came to the issue of Julian Assange, he was not just going to come out and pander to us. He outright said, "I'm not so sure we could pardon him for this, that, or reason." And even Luke was like, "I don't know about that guy." And I'm like, "No, I respect it. I respect that Kash is willing to say, here's what I actually think about it.
Yep.
I'm not going to just lie to you because you want to hear something, and then that's not going to happen." Dan Bongino, on the other hand, is the other hand. And he is the guy who looks straight at the camera and points his finger saying, "We're coming for you, you criminals, you corrupt deep state cronies." And I think Kash is going to be like the administrative powerhouse, but Dan's going to be the tip of the spear. I think Dan might actually start going after some more higher profile individuals. I think Dan's more likely to prioritize the terrorism, the far left, all of these things that we have been complaining about on the ground that he's been talking about on his show. It's right there, top of mind.
Yeah, I mean,
Feeling
I would love to see significant changes come from the Department of Justice. I'd like to see them actually, go after some crimes from the left. So
they kind of do the same thing as what they do with racism, right? So racism only exists in the mind. So like it doesn't actually exist, just the belief that it exists. So that's what liberals do is racism exists, Nazi, the salute from Elon. So they do the same thing with this. Is it's a bunch of fear mongering because they don't have any arguments, nor do they have a basis for truth. So if you look at liberals, they don't have an actual objective reason why they should uphold the truth.
Right.
So they're just pragmatists. So whatever works.
Well, they don't have an objective reason for any principle they claim or ideology they claim. Despite, I agree with you, they don't have any. That's why it changes every other day and makes no sense.
Right. And then they're just contrarian, so they don't actually hold those beliefs. That's just whatever they do, we do the opposite.
What do we what's the word for that?
What?
Polemicist? No, that's not the right word.
No, that's
Yeah, that's just like a debate.
Contrarian when
well, I'm thinking of contrarian. Yeah,
Yeah, I suppose it probably gets it the best. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of where it's like
like a philosophical.
yeah. Anyway, let's jump to the next story. My friends, before we get to the next story, smash that like button. Every like equals one more year for Fauci in prison. So if you really think that man should be there, smash the like button, because at the end of the show, we're going to announce how many years he's getting. And don't forget to download the Rumble app. Download the Rumble app right now if you don't have it. Because guess what? On Rumble, you actually get notifications for shows you like. Because there are a lot of people who'll be like, man, YouTube wouldn't send me the notification. Well, Rumble always sends notifications. And we got the new Rumble lineup in the mornings. So you got Crowder, you got me, you got the Quarter, you got Russell Brand. It's going to be great. But let's jump to this next story from the Post-Millennial. Trump administration deports 238 Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador in prison despite judge's order. Quote, the administration did not refuse to comply with the court order, said White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. All right, I'm going to give you the quick version so we can jump into the hot debate here. So Donald Trump is going to deport Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador. He's negotiated a deal with Nayib Bukele over in El Salvador. I think the deal is like, was it $20,000 per year per person or something like this? Whereas in the U.S. it could be like 50 to 60K for imprisoning these guys. So
much more.
Or more.
More.
And so the general idea is they should be deported. They're not citizens. They're criminals. Let's deport them. But where do you send them? If you just send them home, they come right back. El Salvador will take them in and hold them. This is fundamentally, at its core, undoubtedly, a foreign policy circumstance, negotiation between two different presidents on dealing with international relations. No question. In this story, while the plane was in midair, a judge, a district court judge out of D.C., just like a city, low level, inferior court level, said, turn any planes around that are carrying people. And the DOJ was like, excuse me? This is the president negotiating with foreign countries and coming to terms. A lower court judge can't order the president to shut down a foreign relation action. That's insane. Well, this judge is adamant that he can, yelling in court that his power is equitable to President Trump's. This is the most insane thing I have ever heard. First and foremost, I hope you all never forget the story that when Donald Trump and his administration says, Tren de Aragua, who's been on the news all day, taking over, for the past year, taking over buildings, we're going to just got to go. We're getting rid of them. We're getting them out of the country. Judge literally, ACLU Sue is saying, stop, don't deport these people. And a judge actually says, don't deport these people. For the love of all that is holy, why do Democrats so desperately want these people in our country? I, for the life of me, can't figure it out. They're insane. And also now trying to argue that they have authority over the president's foreign policy maneuvers relating to military decisions. Insane.
This actually relates to something that we've been talking about that I believe the administration is trying to do, which is get issues like this, so whether it be this particular issue or something else, in front of the Supreme Court and have the Supreme Court, rule. Does the administration, does the president have the authority to be the executive, or do all these others, the bureaucracies and judges and lower courts, do they have the authority to stop the president? Most of these injunctions, they're mostly new. FDR made massive changes via executive order, and there were 0 injunctions. No judge in the whole country stopped anything FDR did. There were things that had to be stopped because I believe that the Supreme Court said they were unconstitutional, but there were no judges that could just make an injunction from a specific area and say, no, this can't happen in the whole country. It started in the 60s, if I understand correctly, and then it really took off during the Obama administration. And that's not the way that our country is supposed to work. The president is the only elected official that is elected by the whole body politic. The whole country votes on the president. Your representatives in Congress, and your senators, those are voted by, your congressional districts and by the states. The only person that's voted by the whole country is the president. The president wins with a electoral majority and the pure majority of votes. He has a mandate from the American people. The American people have decided that they want what he was selling on the campaign trail. And these judges just stepping in and saying, no, you can't do this. That is interfering with the will of the American people. This needs to go before the Supreme Court, and it needs to be stopped.
Take a look at this. We got a couple different threads that I want to read quickly through because these are absolutely insane to read. So the judge says, these are questions I want answers for, and why you want this typo. How many planes departed the U.S. on Saturday carrying anyone based on proclamation? How many people in each category? What foreign country or countries did they land in? The time they took off and where? The time you contend left U.S. airspace? What time they landed in each country? What time transferred into what countries? The judge asks plaintiff there other questions that should be asked. The DOJ points out oral order is not the injunction, and transcript saying I would memorialize gave DOJ good faith basis to wait for written order. Let me simplify. A judge saying something in court is not a formal enforceable order. It has to be written, declared, and put into the court record. And the judge is angry. He's saying, I told you not to do this verbally. I gave you an oral order. And they're like, that doesn't mean anything. And they're right. Okay, who's going to do the work? Let's say there's a guy and he's sitting in an airport and they're loading up Tren de Aragua. And someone runs over and goes, wait, the judge told Jim, who told Rick, who told Bob, who told me, don't take off. That guy's going to be like, okay, do you have any written proof? No, it's his word. He's going to be like, okay, well, his word to who? The lawyer. Okay, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a flight crew, and we're taking off. We're supposed to leave in 10 minutes. Goodbye. That's why it has to be in the court record, so they can be like, here's the court order, signed in the court record. There you go. This idea that you can just decree things is crazy. I would argue this. If the judge said, you can't deport these people, even if 3 hours later they took off, I'd be like, that's legit. Like, dude, these flights are scheduled. These people are being deported. And there is a time limit. Because the judge is taking it personally, the judge is acting like he's the plaintiff in this case. He wants these things done. He wants Trump to do what he says to do. And because Trump doesn't do it, he's taking it personally. That's what's so insane about this story.
That's like going to someone's house and you don't have a warrant. And you're like, well, you know what? The judge said we can come in here. We don't have a warrant. We don't have any official documentation, but he said
Oral order.
So we're coming in. I got a quick question real quick. A lot of leftists I've seen, Miss K-Ball was saying, how do we know? We haven't trusted government for a while now. Now we're trying to trust the government because it's our guys. How do we know each person getting deported is Tren de Aragua and they were the right person to get deported? We're taking their word for it.
This is the only issue, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to defend Democrats, and I'm not going to play this game where for 4 years they opened the border to millions of people, many of whom were Tren de Aragua criminals. Yeah. These people terrorized homes. And then when Donald Trump says we are going to work to get rid of them, now, because we believe in the rule of law, we scrutinize Donald Trump's efforts to reverse the problem. That is a wartime tactic Democrats have implemented against us. Flood the border with anyone and everyone, including criminals. The criminals wreak havoc. Then when Trump tries to stop it, force your enemy to scrutinize his actions to hinder his ability to reverse the problem they caused. I would like it for the Trump administration to release a list of names and like little bios. Here's the list of people we deported. It's not that big. It's 238. Here's their alleged accused crimes, but I don't even care. Trump can be like, I'm not going to tell you any crime they committed. I can only assert they're not citizens.
Yeah, if they're illegal, bounce.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're Tren de Aragua or a local hot dog vendor from Mexico City. You come here illegally, we're going to give you a ride home. Could you imagine someone breaking into your house and eating a can of beans in your basement? And instead of calling the cops, you say, no, buddy, listen, you can't eat my beans in my basement. I'm going to give you a ride home. we would mock that person as being pathetic. And that's all Trump is doing. He's saying, we're sending you home. And the Democrats are demanding we don't do that. No, let him stay in your house and eat your beans.
We're not deporting nearly enough people. There's going to be a few people that probably shouldn't get deported that do. But, I mean, look, there are 15, 20 million people that have come to the country illegally. We got a lot of work to do. There will be some errors. Find the errors, bring them back, fine. But really, get rid of people, and they need to up the tempo and up the numbers because they haven't been doing nearly enough. You know, even if they're sending even if they were, which they're not, even if they were sending 5,000 people a day, flights with that many flights out of the country, that's still not going to get rid of nearly enough of the illegals.
But what they have to understand too about these different cultures is that they assume that everyone has the American culture. But when you go to Mexico, when you go to Islamic nations, they have these pedophilic cultures where it's okay to marry younger people. It's okay to be attracted to younger age women. So when these illegals are coming in, they have their own culture, but they're not assimilating. So they do have those tendencies. That's why a lot of the rape, if you look at the rape stats, a lot of them are people with strong bloods because they don't want to refrain themselves from acting on those urges, and they don't actually.
It's multiculturalism.
Yeah. So they don't think about any of the consequence. They just look at whatever the left is.
Well, we
get them out.
We saw this in Sweden.
So great.
So in Afghanistan, there is a practice which I will not get into detail on, where let's just say they abuse young boys. In the most extreme way imaginable. Adult men and other older boys will take a young boy and they will, let's keep it family friendly. You know what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. They brought that practice to Sweden. And they started seeing an increase in these attacks at swimming pools and things where young Swedish boys would be surrounded by a gang of young Afghani men, and then they would perform their cultural practice on them. There are U.S. troops who have come back and said this is a common thing in Afghanistan that people don't want to hear about because the question then arises, why are we helping these people? That this is an evil practice. So people need to understand cultures are very different and terrifyingly different, but liberals don't seem to know that because they don't really read or learn. They just think they do. More like they get their platitudes from their non-theistic religion priests in their intersectional practices and just take it all as law. And they think that when you bring in all these other cultures from around the world, everyone's going to hold hands and sing songs under a rainbow. When in fact, someone comes in and says, you're eating pork, that is a hell-worthy trespass. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, what do you mean? We eat bacon every morning. Oh, well, look, man, when you go to Egypt, they don't serve bacon. You can't have it. It's illegal. They have beef bacon. It's not bad, actually. Thin-cut beef belly fat. It's good, but it's not pork.
Do you believe a lot of these different cultures are a reflection of the religion that they follow?
Well...
Or do you think it's just like a random culture that just kind of...
Well, what do you mean, though?
So, if we look at...
Obviously, culture and religion go hand in hand.
Yeah, but when we look at... Because they want to deny that we have a Christian nation.
Oh, right.
So we have this, but then if you look at other nations and it's from their religion...
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
So, culture and religion are inseparable.
Right.
That's why I was kind of confused,
Yeah.
Well, of course, a Muslim.
But that's why
it
was more a rhetorical question for them, right? Because when they say we don't need religion, we don't need Christianity, there's always not a theocracy, but you always need a religion as a foundation because that's going to be the result of it.
Well, right now, as we've become increasingly more secular, as people have abandoned religion, and I would say actually it's more so that people who claim to be Christians aren't Christians, and so there is no strong moral tradition. You get a generation in millennials and now in younger Gen Z. They have moral foundations. They're just a hodgepodge of random garbage. It's like a Jackson Pollock painting. And so you end up with what I would call wokeness, or, maybe that's the really easy way to explain wokeness. I would often describe it as cult-like adherence to liberal orthodoxy, which may be a bit redundant because liberals marching in lockstep with other liberals doesn't really describe much, but that's all it really is. Wokeness is a murmuration of the left. They're floating around in random directions, seemingly aimless, and who knows what they'll believe tomorrow. But maybe that's one way of explaining wokeness. It's that wokeness is the non-theistic religion of liberals in the United States that they adhere to with religious fervor.
By the way, real quick on that, have you ever heard of a guy named Brad Wilcox?
Maybe. I think people are super chatting us about him.
Okay, interesting. Well, if I'm
I don't know who he is.
There's probably multiple, but the one I'm thinking about is a sociologist, one of the best sociologists in the country. When you brought up the Christians, how a lot of them are fake Christians, or they're actually committing worse things than what secularists would do. So Brad Wilcox, what he studies is not nominal Christians, but religious Christians. So people that do go to church multiple times a month. They look at the stats of, or the studies of the wife, and the wife are the happiest wives out of all of them. So when you do look at these studies, a lot of them are nominal Christians, meaning they're just Christians by name only. They're not actual Christians. They don't actually follow the religion. But when you look at who actually follows the religion, they have better stats than everyone else and better results by a large margin when they actually do adhere to religion itself.
So you said that societies need a fundamental or a foundation.
Religion needs to be the foundation of everything.
So would you say that there's a type of religion, or like what would you say to people that say, well, the Shintoism in Japan was the foundation for that, and that isn't really what we consider a religion? It's more of a philosophy. And I believe that I think the same thing was that, or that was the same thing could be said for China. So what would you say to someone that brought those up?
Yeah, so it's I guess it's kind of hard unless you go and you live in other cultures or experience them. But when we look at the Western culture, at least, we have a lot of values innately that we would kind of prescribe to Jesus Christ. So when we say Donald Trump is a bad president, or
I mean, I understand that we live in our culture is not it's not an honor culture or something like that. What would you say about other cultures?
Right. What I would say is like a correspondence series. So whatever reflects reality with what's written in a book. So if the Bible says these are the things that we should adhere to, and we see those innate laws written in our heart because that's what people are advocating for, that's what I would advocate for when it's Christianity that represents reality more than anything else. And I guess that's kind of hard to discern, once again, if you don't go experience other cultures or other religions. But based off what we see people complaining about constantly, what they're adhering to or what they're referring to is the Bible itself. So
yeah, that in the Western context, but I don't think that there are people that look at, again, Japanese that grew up in an honor culture, right? So they're I think, like I said, I think it's Shintoism. I'm not super clear on what it is, but
what about Buddhism?
That is a different kind of culture, but I think that's actually closer to Christianity than Shintoism, because it's not an honor culture. An honor culture where, like, if you are insulted, you have to take care of that insult, and if you don't, you're dishonored.
Yeah.
So that, like, the idea of turning the other cheek in an honor culture is completely abhorrent. You can't. Yeah. That doesn't even occur to you. So, like, but those societies still they existed and thrived for 1,000 years or 2,000 years.
So are you asking the validity of the religion itself?
No. I'm asking what you think of the foundation as
from a practical sense. Yeah. So I believe that if you're a Christian, you should adhere to principles. So this means that you can be pragmatic in certain situations, but that's not going to be your underlying foundation, right? But it's also very easy when people say there's a million different religions. It's very easy to discern which religions are false. You don't have to go and study them deeply. If I write a book and I say I'm going to teach a human being how to fly in 30 minutes, you would just throw it out the window because you see the internal inconsistency, right? So it's very easy when you see the consistency of the Bible itself or whatever Christians profess, you can see how it does reflect with the laws that are written in our hearts.
On the fake, you said they're fake Christians. I don't know if they're fake, but but years ago, before I paid attention to things, I'd be like, oh yeah, I like Christianity. I might be a Christian. I don't practice it, but I like the foundation of it. Where it brought me and us here to today. So maybe they're not fake Christians, but they like the moral standing. Sorry.
We talk about it quite a bit on this show, that the United States has a Christian moral tradition, even among secular liberal types, but it's fading from the younger generations as they drift away from it. That's why they abandon free speech and things like this.
But that's why we see all the depression, all the anxiety, all the suicide rates go up. The more we deviate from religion, the better, or the higher these stats go.
I agree. Yep. There's a lack of any moral framework on the left.
So even from a pragmatist view, wouldn't that also show the consistency of that religion itself? That the more we deviate from something, the worse results we get, even from a pragmatic lens.
Yeah, I think it proves that the Christian moral framework, based on the successes of Western nations, at least up to this point, proves that the Christian moral framework was the superior moral framework implemented so far. There's no reason right now to believe that there's anything else that's better. And it's funny how over time, this moral framework went from rooted in Christian tradition into now it's just quote unquote democracy as it drifts away from any kind of religious root. I am deeply offended by CE. Don't you dare ever say 2025 CE to me. Are you familiar with that?
I have zero idea what you're talking about.
It's
BC.
Oh, CE. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Christ
Common
engagement.
Common era.
Common era.
Common era. What?
because AD is
Anno Domini.
I know.
right,
Yeah,
the year of
yeah.
our Lord.
Yeah.
And so that is offensive because it's Christian. Quite literally, the years we use, the year of our Lord, 2025. Our time is Christian.
Yeah.
And
fair.
so, my view is largely this. I know there's a lot of people who are atheists or agnostic and they're very critical of Christianity. By all means, do whatever you want, believe whatever you want. I am saying, take a look at the Muslim nations, take a look at communist China, take a look at the other countries of the world, compare them to what the United States and Europe accomplished. Now, to be fair, up to this point, now as we drift towards secularism, it's starting to break apart. So I think it's fair to say that I am not saying quite literally that those who get on their knees and worship Jesus Christ or whatever are the reason for this. I'm saying it's the moral tradition they hold, which does correlate with their faith in Jesus Christ and Christianity. But the moral traditions that are passed down, when those are lost, we can see everything falling apart.
Have you ever heard of the paradox freedom?
No.
Or the paradox of freedom. So it's where you have so much freedom that you have no freedom at all. So like when we look up at the nominal Christians, right? We look at, there's so many fake Christians. We would also look at the Protestant Reformation, how this actually was the foundation of these beliefs that we hold now. So everything is liberal minded. So we want freedom. We want liberty. We want as much degeneracy as we want. This all came, even Nancy Pearcey was a big one on that.
You ever see Maj Touré's shirt? Freedom over everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking about that because he gave me one, and we are fairly libertarian. And then I thought about it this morning when I was on my way to work, and I was just like, I disagree.
Yeah,
I think it should say duty over everything.
exactly.
Duty.
Well, that's what I was grilling Sam Cedar on, was like, it's all freedom, liberty. That's the message that was pushed to us since we were young, especially in this nation. But then we realized it's a paradox because you have so much freedom. You want a utopia where it leads to a dystopia. You have no freedom at all.
Every liberty comes with a related responsibility.
Yeah.
Duty.
Well, I mean, you can call it a duty, but it's a responsibility because you have the right to, say, own a firearm, right? But you have a responsibility not to hurt someone else with that firearm. You have the right to say, whatever you want, but you have a responsibility to articulate yourself properly. You have the right to leave, drive your car or leave your house and stuff, but you have the responsibility to not run people over. There are responsibilities that come with every single liberty that you have.
Indeed. Or if you were, say, granted spider powers, you have the ability to win a wrestling match. But if you don't stop the man who's robbing the promoter, then you will lose your uncle.
Well, even voting, when I say women shouldn't vote, they look at me with a disgusting face. But at the same time, if voting itself was a real right, 5-year-olds would be able to vote if it was inherent within us.
Well, why? I mean, aren't there some things that don't apply?
No, because what Phil was saying, which is there's responsibilities, right? So like we have the right to vote, but you have to meet a specific criteria, a specific threshold, right? You don't have a right.
So it's not a right.
Right. So it's not a right.
It's like, are we even a democracy if
Yeah, I don't-
5-year-olds don't get to vote?
I don't think there's a right to vote. I think voting is a privilege bestowed upon those who are responsible.
Well, everything is a privilege. Yeah, none of them are actual rights. Because even if you believe the very foundation, the precondition to everything, the right to life, you would have a lot of pro-lifers, but they're pro-choicers.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think largely that what you'll find is
I like that.
we were discussing this on the Culture War podcast 2 weeks ago. I said, what I think it is? I think there's a lot of things that break apart the culture war into various factions. Some have said it's globalist versus nationalist. It's certainly not. Some have said it's libertarian versus authoritarian. Kind of. But I wonder if it's largely those who serve God and those who want to be God.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is there are liberals who are atheists who still serve God. And what I mean to say is they view themselves as just a small piece of a larger world to which they have responsibilities to. And that they may not view all of this creation around us as a product of God's will, but they still see themselves as a small piece of a larger puzzle for which they must take care of their responsibilities. Then there are people who are like, I can do whatever I want whenever I want. There are people who want to literally download their brains into machines and become superior beings. There are people who want to never work. There's actually a subreddit on Reddit about how people shouldn't have to have jobs and do any work at all. Those people, they want to be the universe. They want to be the center of everything. And then there are people who are trying to serve others and serve the greater good.
Well, it all reflects Adam and Eve eating from the apple, right? They trusted their own judgment over God's. So the same thing with this. You reject God. I trust my own judgment more than God's, so I'm going to follow my own will.
That's just it. Adam was like, I don't think we should do that, for it would be a sin. And Eve was like, but it feels so good.
That's why pride is one of the deadly sins, because of that reason.
Interesting. Let's jump to this next story, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the Democrats. CNN Lowest ever recorded Democrat disapproval ratings, approval ratings. Holy smokes, the Republican Party's beating the Democrats. What I love about this is Republicans are at 36 favorability and Democrats are at 29. So they're both apocalyptically bad. And then we have this from NBC. Now, I love how NBC starts off the headline. Trump faces early challenges on the economy as the United GOP backs big change. Why not just roll with what you buried at the bottom, NBC? Look at this. Democrats' lowest positivity.
Wow.
Is it ever, I guess?
Yeah.
At 27. Now, many people say, the question may be, my view of this is the Democratic Party's dead. It is a withered husk lying on the ground. It is. You ever see Harry Potter when he goes to the train station and there's that little Voldemort sitting on the ground going, yeah, like that? That's what the Democrats are right now. Like they're still kind of there. In the CNN poll, which I wonder if I can pull up here. I don't know if they have it. No, I guess not. On Mediaite, they say they ask which Democrat represents the party's values. The best, the highest anyone achieved was 10%. That's it. And it was AOC. Kamala Harris came in second with 9%. And I think then Bernie Sanders and then everyone else and Barack Obama. I think it was Obama. I don't know. And then everybody got 4% or less, down to 1%, meaning there's no party leadership. And the best they can muster up is AOC.
Yep.
10%. That's it. Republican Party, Donald Trump. The Republican Party supports Trump like 100%. It's like, if you go to any Republican and say, who's the leader of the Republican Party? Trump. You go to any Democrat, who's the leader of the Republican Party? They might say Elon Musk to be cheeky, but it's Donald Trump. You go to Democrats, say, who's in charge of the Democratic Party? And they go,
Do you know why that is, though?
why they have no leader?
Yeah. No, why they're nothing. Why they're just crumbling.
I think when you represent nothing,
Right.
there is no one who can represent you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the 2020 election cycle, Joe Biden said, I hate Trump. And you vote for hating Trump. And
Right.
people voted for hating Trump. Well, I'll tell you what. The way I described it this morning, if you got two guys in your kitchen, one guy says, I'm going to cook you dinner and I'm going to make beef bourguignon. And it's going to be the best you've ever had. And I'm going to insult you and cuss and swear and make a big mess. It's like, okay, that doesn't sound too good, but he's going to make the best meal ever. The other guy goes, I won't do any of that. Okay, guess what happens when you vote for the guy who promises not to do anything for you? Come dinner time, there's no dinner.
Empty plate.
That's right. You can have the crazy guy who you think is messy and talks weird, but he makes you a beef bourguignon, which I don't even know what that is. What is that? Is it like beef and like a white wine sauce?
I don't know.
I think with noodles.
Sounds
as
delicious.
Well.
With noodles?
Yeah.
So I think why the Democrats are super unpopular right now is because of Trump, but why in particular because of Trump? Trump is so effective at baiting the far left Democrats, the far lefts in the Democrat Party, to rally around the most unpopular things that make the rest of the party look really stupid and drag the rest of them down. So for example, with this most recent Trey Duragwa stuff, this is literally a terrorist organization. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said these are monsters who tortured, raped, and murdered a 12-year-old. They said they were responsible for killing 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley. So he's forcing the Democrats to defend literal rapists and murderers, and the Democrats are asking themselves, why are we so unpopular? He's deporting Mahmoud Khalil, right? Supports literal terrorists. He's not just anti-Israel, somebody who supports Hamas, who is anti-Israel. And now he baited the far left to literally go protest in the street and make him the face of their movement. So he's so effective at baiting the far left, and the centrist Democrats just have to get dragged to their grave by the far left.
I just have a quick correction. It's a red wine sauce. I can't believe I said with a white wine sauce. I'm silly.
But also, they have nothing to offer, right? They have no good news to bring to anyone. So even American values were based off hope, giving you freedom, giving you liberty, giving you confidence that this is the land of the free. But Democrats do the exact opposite. Racism exists. Therefore, if you're Mexican, if you're a minority, you're not going to get the same opportunities as the next guy. So they have no hope. They have nothing to offer. Once again, it's only the...
I think they're failing to coalesce around the most popular issues within their party because of the centrist and the far left. And Trump, I think, neutralized some of their issues because I think the Democrats, they've won elections in the past, and I foresee that winning elections in the future once they find their footing in leadership here. But I mean, on some positions, many people in the country, do prefer the Democrats, but Trump managed to dispel them and focus on issues that are so just unpopular for Democrats. So, for example, we haven't heard a word about abortion. That is the most popular issue Democrats can ever talk about.
That's what I
and
was gonna
Trump
say.
has managed to completely dispel that by saying he wouldn't move forward with a national abortion ban. So the most important issues he is dispelling, and then he's pressing his thumb down on the most unpopular issues that the Democrats have to deal with. Like, again, deporting literal rapists and murderers. And this is who the ACLU decides to focus their defense on. Like, you could have legalese to challenge any case.
We also
Donald Trump needs to be more selective on this one. Donald Trump should do things that he, like the meme 7 years ago? I can't believe it's been that long. Wow. The meme was, ingenious move, Trump supports impeachment, forcing Democrats to oppose. The fact that Democrats are actually defending Tren de Arago right now because Trump is deporting them.
Yeah.
We should just someone's got to go to the president and say, Mr. President, anything you do, they'll do the opposite of.
Right.
So first of all, you should start praising McDonald's, Starbucks, Chuck E. Cheese's.
Yeah.
Then get them to come out against all of it. Then force those businesses to side with you because Democrats are opposing them. So when Trump brought McDonald's, this happened. People like McDonald's, okay? It may not be as big as it once was, but people love their cheeseburgers and their French fries. That's why McDonald's is everywhere. Donald Trump ordered McDonald's to the White House, and the Democrats started attacking McDonald's, saying it was disgusting. And I'm like,
hilarious.
You're going to force McDonald's to come out in support of Donald Trump because they have no choice. Because it's like, okay, McDonald's, side with the liberals and agree that your food is garbage, or side with Donald Trump, a guy who is on Air Force One with a Big Mac right now in RFK Jr. And Trump should play up these very popular issues. People love Taco Bell. Trump should go to Taco Bell. Then they're going to start making fun of Taco Bell. They're going to say it gives you the runs and all this other stuff. And then Taco Bell's going to be like...
Wait, so are you saying Trump should be pro-choice as well?
Just debate the Democrats.
I mean...
Because they would probably change their position. That would probably
Well,
be the one
he's
thing.
not for a nationwide ban.
Right.
I do think
Which is inconsistent.
there's
on its
some
face.
things they can't fall into.
Yeah.
Issues like bringing McDonald's to the White House means nothing to them, so they will take the inverse position. The abortion thing would result in them saying Trump's a liar, don't trust him, because it's too egregious, right? You can't go that far. But Trump can literally do anything popular that's like mainstream. Like Trump should go to Target and invite the CEO of Target, and he should say, show me around your beautiful store. Democrats will come out saying Target is awful. How could you? You're evil. Don't shop there. What do you do?
But people, even though they're stupid, they're not that stupid because you have a kid now, right? So you're going to be assessing now what schools do I put my kids into? What agenda are they teaching them?
None.
Right. So these people that they're not that stupid where their only plan that they have for marketing themselves, Democrats, is abortion rights, aka reproductive rights, aka killing my baby rights, or let my kid cut his penis off.
No, I mean,
people aren't that stupid.
It's
to believe
ridiculous too because I mean, for example, the past 5 years, Democrats' top issue was climate change, but now
They hate
all the
Elon
Democrats are protesting outside
all
of
the
the most
Teslas,
popular
The
EV company in our country.
Right.
They're saying boycott Tesla, and I've spoken to climate
issue
activists
is
about
never
this,
the
and they're
issue.
like,
The
"Oh no,
issue
maybe you
is
should actually
always
take
the
public
revolution.
transit." So
the issue is never the issue. The issue
Right, we get
is
it.
always the revolution.
But it's I would even say that applies anymore. Maybe at some point there was an idea of a revolution, but now it's literally we hate. The issue is not the issue. The issue is hate. That's it. All they represent. There's no revolution. There's no cohesive plan. There is no
Just because there's no cohesive plan doesn't mean that the leftists wouldn't want to see a revolution.
There's
That's
no
the
revolution
reason-
anymore.
That's the reason that they're shooting.
they're fighting back against
They're
Trump.
certainly not. There may have been a revolution 10 years ago, but everything they're advocating for is the antithesis of what they advocated for 5 years ago. It
Just
makes
because they're in
literally
disarray
no
doesn't
sense.
mean they don't want to see the collapse of capitalism.
That's not a revolution. That's collapse. Revolution. Revolution.
That's what it always is.
Revolution literally means revolve. It is when there's a rotation of government into a new structure of government. What they're doing now is literally just setting fires.
Yeah.
There's nothing that comes after that. There's no cohesive ideology. They're not fighting for a system.
Phil, let's be honest. How effective would a revolution be from them? So they don't want guns. They're killing themselves every chance they get. They're on antidepressants. They can't even get out of bed. So what revolution are they going to actually lead?
It's not that they're going to be successful, or I believe they're going to be successful, but the people that are like, oh, we want to see the downfall of capitalism, they believe that the downfall of capitalism is the revolution.
revolution, yeah.
That's the point.
I disagree.
You don't think that they do?
Nope, because all
They
of these
absolutely do.
Absolutely not. I guarantee you, I will bet you $100,000 if you go to any one of these leftists advocating for revolution and offer them cash, they'll be a capitalist overnight.
Yeah.
2 seconds. You go to any one of these punk rock revolutionaries and say, how would you like a record label deal? We'll have you headlining all the big shows. You'll be famous and you'll be playing in stadiums. They will say, sign me up, baby. My ideas mean nothing.
I think that a lot of them
How much you want to tell you about?
They're completely totally shallow.
Let me tell you about a prominent punk rock band from the 2000s that wrote songs about how they opposed a two-party system and they were anarchists. And today, 20 years later, they're singing songs at Democrat rallies. How about Rage on Behalf of the Machine? All of these people who claim to hate capitalism will suck the tit of capitalism the moment the offer comes around. Now, maybe I'd agreed with you 10 years ago, but these were just small movements that moved around and never really had any semblance. Now that of success, now that we're looking at large-scale disruptions and chaos, of which it's still a minority position at this point, there's no revolution. There is no group of people saying we must end capitalism. There's a group saying, what do you guys agree with? I'll agree with what you agree with. Is it destructive to the system? I'll agree with you if you agree. And then they just agree with each other. So they're pro-Ukraine. They're pro-military industrial complex. How could they be anti-capitalist if they're in favor of funding the military industrial complex?
You're definitely right that the vast majority of them are hypocrites.
All of them.
But there are, you can't say all of them because I don't know.
We are not talking about a large cohesive faction of people in the Democratic Party or in the quote unquote left.
Well, they're leaderless now, but I honestly do think that if there was a coherent leader that was charismatic, there could be a movement that could coalesce.
Who do they coalesce around?
Look, it happens all the time.
Who do they coalesce around?
This is something I can't name them because, like I said,
Hassan Piker?
No, like I said, I can't.
No, hold on. He's one of the top streamers in the world, and he's also a multimillionaire who owns property in Santa Monica, and he's got like what does he have, a Corvette?
There's a guy that's running for mayor in New York. That's the DSA. That's a DSA guy, and he's actually doing fairly well. He's running for mayor in New York. I don't know much about him. I don't know if he is the guy or not, but I could imagine that that over the next, say, 5 or 6 years, he gets into a position where he becomes influential.
You are arguing that if you go to Hassan Piker and said,
no, I'm not. I didn't say Hassan Piker. I didn't bring Hassan up at all. So I'm not arguing anything about Hassan.
You are arguing that the prominent leftists leading the charge would sacrifice their wealth for communism.
I'm not making that argument. I'm saying that it is completely possible and completely reasonable to think that because of the ebb and flow of these kind of movements and stuff, that if there were a charismatic leader to come up, that maybe he's only 18 and we don't know who he is now, but right now. But in 5 years, he could be in his 20s, or in 10 years, he could be in his 30s, and it's possible that this could happen. There is no end to history, Tim. There's no end to history, Tim. There's no history doesn't stop.
Okay, let's poll the audience and you guys. Let's get a 1 in chat if you think 99.9% of all these leftists would cave in 2 seconds. In 2 seconds, again, to a cash deal.
Again, you're totally taking what I'm saying and twisting it around.
Right? You said they want to end capitalism. No, they don't.
I'm saying that it is completely reasonable to think that there could be a leader to come up in the next 5-10 years.
Okay, so let's pause.
That could actually coalesce a movement around them.
You said they wanted to end capitalism. I said no, they didn't.
I'm saying that there are people that want to.
Right. Okay. So this started with the issue is never the issue. The issue is revolution. I said there is no revolution. There is no coherent idea for which they're advocating for to revolve into. They are simply just a chaotic fire that runs around smashing things because their only core ethos is I hate. So if you go to any one of these people who throws a Molotov cocktail to a building, you take them and anybody keying a Tesla car, you say, hey, buddy, how would you like to be a rock star? We'll pay you $1 million a year, but you can't do this anymore. They'll say, thank you. Oh my God, thank you. So I will never key a Tesla again.
Okay, like I said, there may not be a cohesive movement right this minute, but these ideologies and this philosophy has existed and has coalesced around people in the past and has ruined countries. So to say that it did not happen or that it can't happen.
What I'm saying is right now, I think you're a hammer looking at nails. What we're looking at with the liberals and the Democratic Party is not a coherent communist revolution. It is a hodgepodge of random different ideas. Antifa simultaneously was tanky and anarchist. That's the claims they made, which made no sense. Why were people who felt there should not be a structure of government and they are willing to use violence to achieve that, teaming up with people who wanted to establish a total authoritarian system?
That's always been the case on the left, though. The people that started the Soviet Union thought that they were anarchists. Like people like I forget the woman's name. There was someone, Michael Malice is always talking about that she was a communist and an anarchist, and she was one of the founders of the movement. And she went to the Soviet Union. She was appalled at what she saw because it wasn't the anarchist utopia that they wanted.
Right. I'm saying the left and Democrats in the United States do not have a structure for which they're advocating for.
Yes, I agree with you on that point. But I'm saying that it's not that a new leader could not arise and they could coalesce around them.
So that's entirely speculative, and maybe who knows what, when, where, or why. What's more likely to happen is if this does result in collapse, we get a far-right fascistic government first. So there's no revolution. There is a chaotic, destructive force that has no ideology. Hassan Piker being a really great example. They coalesce around him. Not that he's the most famous guy in the world, but he gets, 20 to 30,000 or whatever viewers on his streams. Mm-hmm. He makes millions of dollars, and he has no core ideas that make sense. He's simultaneously pro-military and anti-military. There's a guy who's like, what does he even believe? He's a wealthy socialist? Well, this seems to be paradoxical. No, he's just a grifter. He's just going to say whatever he's got to say. When it comes to Israel, the military-industrial complex is wrong. When it comes to Ukraine, we can't leave Ukraine on their own. It makes literally no sense. If a group like this achieves the destruction of the existing system, as Noam Chomsky said, when you enter the arena of violence, the most brutal guy wins, and that ain't us. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen is, if there is a revolution, there's not going to be a revolution caused by them revolving into what they are fighting for. It will be a fascistic, militarized government of the right taking over and operating with authoritative systems under its own moral framework. To put it simply, if there was a Christian theocratic established militarized government that took over, most MAGA people probably would not care. They'd be like, I have no problem with saying blasphemy is illegal. Why would you blaspheme? And then there would be post-liberals who are on the MAGA side being like, this is terrible. I don't like this. We should be allowed to speak. And there would be crazy wingnut leftists bombing things.
Do you think that's the way things are going with them, with the left doing their own suicide within themselves, that becoming a possibility?
Left always is suicidal. They always just.
I'm talking about the right guys getting all crazy. I mean, I'm okay. I mean,
maybe
I'm kind of fine with some things, but not a lot.
You take a look at the. What's going on with these judges? This judge in D.C. saying my powers to Trump are equitable. I'm not kidding. A lower court judge. Like what? You're a lower court appointee in a city arguing that when he orders the president must abide because his powers are equal. No. The judicial branch is equal, but the president will not be enjoined when he is engaging in military actions over international waters. Absolutely insane. These people have for 4 years or longer, since Trump got elected the first time, broken the law, battered the Constitution, and sought to put Trump and his lawyers and anybody who supported him in prison to shut them down and silence them. They have already crossed the Rubicon. When they went after Trump's lawyers, I was like, that's it. That's the shot heard around the world. Trying to put Jenna Ellis in prison for simply representing Donald Trump is insane. Now Donald Trump is deporting people, as he has the right to do, and they're still arguing he has no authority to do it. The end result of this is if they keep up this rhetoric. So the DOJ told this judge, stop trying to assert authority over the executive branch. You are creating a constitutional crisis. The Democrats are saying, nope, Trump is. It's like, okay, if you're going to keep pushing that, and they're going to try and maintain to half the country that Donald Trump as president does not have executive authority as he's exercising it, which he does, and they did with the classified documents case. In their world, Trump is in violation of the Constitution and has destroyed the country, and now he must be stopped. In our world, Trump is literally doing what his authorities are vested in Article 2 of the Constitution and his executive authority, and they are acting outside the confines, thinking a lower court judge can supersede the commander-in-chief is nuts. There's only one place that goes. So, when Biden was in office, we had the argument, either we get a Chinese communist style government with the Democrats as the only party, or you get some kind of civil war. Either we surrender or we fight back. Well, we wanted to avoid that through an election. We said, we got to win the popular vote. to avoid any kind of crisis or violence, and we did. Trump won the popular vote. He got a popular mandate. We won. Democrats have not stopped doing what they've always been doing, which means today, Donald Trump can just keep doing what he's authorized to do, and they will declare further war. They're committing acts of terrorism against Tesla dealerships. They're targeting private owners. They're shooting Tesla vehicles, setting them on fire. We got one story for you guys. A dude tried to set a Tesla on fire, set himself on fire.
Oops.
Yep. These people have gone insane, and they're not stopping, and they're not slowing down. What's the end result going to be? Well, right now, based on what we're seeing, what makes the most sense? There's no cohesive ideology. They have no charismatic leaders. There is no unifying force or faction, simple insurgency and terror and disruption. They represent nothing. They're advocating for nothing. They say climate change while they burn electric vehicles and electric car dealerships. Well, they say the democracy while they terrorize innocent people. Trump is exercising his authority vested in him. I see this over the summer, over the next year, potentially escalating to Donald Trump using the Insurrection Act, bringing the National Guard, doing whatever to bring this stuff under control. When they start arresting these far leftists engaged in terrorism, the left is going to claim Trump is disappearing people. When you get a guy who's not a citizen leading protests which turn violent, one of the organizers, Mahmoud Khalil, and Trump says the Secretary of State has sole discretion to revoke visas, be it temporary or otherwise, and they say he's been disappeared. They will push to the extreme whatever happens to claim they are in V for Vendetta, which means the only outcome is going to be they are already starting a conflict with the establishment, with the government, with the majority population. The majority population has a choice. Let them burn down every Tesla, fire Elon Musk, and surrender, or keep going, for which they will keep escalating. Where does it end up? Fighting in the streets? We're already there, I guess. So where does it go next? The military comes in, the National Guard comes in to stop the Trump going to station National Guardsmen at Tesla dealerships next? How do you stop this?
I don't know that it actually, I don't know that it does stop. I think that it stays kind of a low grade, kind of, consistent thing. I don't see a serious escalation. I don't think that there are a significant number of people that are going to join the fight. I think that this will probably, maybe it'll escalate through the summer, and then I think it runs out. I think it like the George Floyd riots did.
We knew, we've said it many times here, and everyone said it. As soon as Trump got elected, we knew things were going to get worse because we knew he was going to win, and how crazy they are. We knew they were going to get crazier because he's definitely hate Trump, hate everything the right does. I might get worse. It's definitely.
Well, let me pull up this story. We have a handful of stories for you, my friends.
Point taken right here.
How many swattings have we seen over the weekend?
It was like 5 or something like
or
that.
more.
A lot.
Take a look at this from Alpha News. This is, I believe this is Minnesota. Might kill somebody. Conservative writer targeted in swatting incident over the weekend. Quote, we're pulling a dozen officers off the road from patrols to be able to do this fake SWAT that might kill somebody. So this is a very serious matter, Dustin Grage said of the incident. You then have this. This is from talkers.com. Talk radio host Joe Pags swatted armed police swarm his home. Geez. You've got Larry Taunton. I was swatted last night, as you can see in these 3 videos. I was in bed, but noticed Ranger, my German Shepherd, was on the prowl, ears up. I heed his instincts. I then saw a flicker of light on my BR door. Ranger went to investigate. I got my gun. I saw the silhouette of a man on my deck with an AR-15. Given my recent run-in with USAID and the Egyptian secret police in Cairo, I didn't know what to think. I could hear whispers and saw 2 other men also in body armor, heavily armed. Jeez. I turned on a light and told them to identify themselves. They did as you'll see, but I kept my weapon. It de-escalated from there. The officers told me they received a call from someone claiming to be in my home and hiding while I shot people. These were the good guys, just doing their jobs. I doubt any voted for Biden or Kamala. They'd approached the house without sirens, in silence. This might have been a bloodbath, but for restraint on both sides. This was an attempt to get me and my wife killed. It ended in smiles and handshakes. There's more. Bearded vet. Well, add me to the swatted list. Everybody is fine. And then we have Matt Van Swole. I just got off a long call with the police officer in this photo who responded to a swatting call at my home. So we've got, 5 right there. And I don't even think this list is exhaustive. There's probably more.
Yep.
This is terror and attempts to murder people. With what we're seeing at the Tesla dealerships, what is this one? Is this the Daily Mail story? Woke activists attempt to torch Tesla chargers ends in painful agony. He set himself on fire. They're going after these people. Right now, they are still targeting Teslas and Tesla dealerships. There's a post on Reddit. of a Tesla vehicle with a sticker saying, "We bought this before we knew Elon was crazy."
I saw one of those in the
and
parking lot.
they said people are trying to distance themselves from Elon. No, they're trying to beg you not to murder them. Anybody who spent any time in Oakland knows exactly what businesses in Oakland do. They put signs in their windows saying, "Please don't hurt us." We saw this during the Summer of Love. That's how you live when you live under a communist dictatorship. This is what they are escalating with. And I don't believe that Cash, Pam, or Dan Bongino are going to back down and let these people keep doing this. But if these people start getting arrested, and we are looking at a critical mass, I mean, how many people have attacked Tesla vehicles? We have viral videos of a random old guy keying a Tesla, getting arrested, or of another guy getting arrested. It's a standalone complex. It is a cultural phenomenon among woke to just start doing these things. And at the same time, they're going on TikTok, they are going on X, and they are posting videos calling for the assassination of politicians. And they have prominent celebrities like Bill Burr saying, "Free Luigi." They're all cheering on Luigi. And then Bill Burr actually goes on his podcast to his millions of followers, however many watch his show. And he says he wants lethal force against billionaires. This is the hottest I've ever seen it in this country. The hottest. We are in winter still. It is not spring. Spring's coming. Over the past 10 years, tracking and reporting on these riots and protest movements, we never went out in the winter. You never went out in the cold. The activists don't show up in the cold. Now you got people going out in the cold to set fires and burn down dealerships and firebomb buildings. This is the worst I've seen in my life.
Yeah, and especially the normalization. I'm surprised you didn't bring up the threat from Hassan Piker towards Rick Scott, where he said if you cared about this fraud, you'd do that to
People,
Rick Scott.
right.
And he was banned off Twitch for a week, and I think he got back on immediately. No politicians are really coming out to condemn him. AOC, I believe, had a stream with this guy in the past. She has nothing to say about this. So
CNN had him on. He's been all over the place.
the willingness to overlook this stuff, especially when they have a microscope to anything going wrong on the right. This issue, this swatting issue, needs to be taken extremely seriously. I feel like this has been going on for over a decade. I don't know if the FBI or whoever is or is not taking this issue seriously. I feel like until somebody dies.
Someone's already died from swatting.
From swatting?
I'm pretty sure a handful of people have.
Nothing's been politically motivated. It's all like gaming or some kind of
Right. There was a gaming dispute where the guy walked out of his house and the cops shot him. I have never seen so many political swattings at once. This is in the span of like 3 days. We have like 8 or 9 swattings.
Yeah. Not to mention, this also affects the people with the least amount of assets. If you're rich enough to be able to afford security, or guess what? Fox News doesn't have to deal with swattings because they work in a prominent building where you have security at their entrance. So this isn't happening to Daily Wire, or if it is, they have ways to deal with it where that makes them more safe. If you're some guy on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube with under 100,000 subscribers, out in some random state, some random town.
2 known deaths related to swattings. Andrew Finch in Wichita, Kansas. He was shot and killed by police responding to a false report. And Mark Herring in 2020 suffered a fatal heart attack when police arrived at his home due to a false report. Because they were trying to steal his Twitter handle.
Jeez, that's right.
Yeah, it's sad that death is what brings so much attention to a lot of these issues, and I hope something could happen before we get to that point on issues like this.
I think this Tren de Aragua deportation thing is one of the hottest escalations in politics, combined with the things on the ground. I don't know if people understand the seriousness of a lower court judge and Democrat-aligned organizations trying to assert power over the presidency. How insane that is. This lower court judge saying my equitable powers. They view themselves as above the duly elected president. What do you think a person who believes that is capable of doing?
What's a lower court judge, like federal or less? What are you talking about?
This is a federal district court judge.
Okay.
And then there's the higher courts. There's the federal appellate judge. This is the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So this is a city judge, effectively. He's a federal judge, but he's just in the city dealing with federal issues, arguing that he has the power over foreign policy decisions made by the president of the United States. And he's in court and they're saying he's yelling at people and demanding they heed his oral orders. It's not the first time a judge has done this. Look at what Democrats were doing with trying to put Trump in prison. Look at what happened with the 2 attempts on Trump's life. Guys, we now have these We have acts of terror against all these Tesla dealerships escalating. It's not slowing down, even with law enforcement. We have swattings, which is terrorism. It's got an extremely low likelihood of death, but that is the intention. At the very least, it's to terrify you and make it hard for you to do any work. They are escalating their attacks against people on the right while actively going on social media and advocating for assassinations and murder. Bill Burr, he should, like, it's crazy. He didn't, saying that he believes a group of people should be, killed is shocking. And 10 years ago, Spotify, Apple, wherever his podcast was, they'd taken him down. They'd have been like, my guy, you cannot do that. Nobody cares anymore. The gloves are off. I was surprised to find that when Bill Burr said this, he got no bans.
Nothing happened.
I was like, I work in this industry. I know people at Spotify. We went to their party in D.C. I could not believe, as far as I know right now, Bill Burr went on his show and he said that these people should be put down. He called for them to die. Nothing.
He's been making a lot of these comments. I think he said something about Luigi.
Said free Luigi twice.
Luigi twice.
Yep.
He's getting radical. He's radicalizing.
Again, some of the most unpopular positions writ large in the country, by the way. I know some people like to be loudmouths about this, yapping on Twitter about free Luigi this, free Luigi that. Ordinary, regular, normal, healthy people, mentally stable people don't believe that CEOs should be murdered in cold blood. Healthcare CEOs, pharmacy CEOs.
Humans in general shouldn't be.
What?
Humans in general. They don't think
Yes.
people should just go around just shooting people.
Yes.
If you have a rational brain, you're not
There's
looking for,
and
that
it's
to
just
happen.
hatred.
Yeah.
They represent nothing. They agree on nothing. They simply agree on the power structure. The only thing the left represents right now is, quote, there is no truth but power, end quote. So if you are a leftist and you've got 50,000 followers, you defer to the bigger accounts that tell you what to do. It doesn't matter what they tell you to do. It just matters that they're prominent. If AOC came out and said something, they'd all march in lockstep, unless it was so far outside. But as long as she stays in the confines of wokeness, they'll agree with her because she's prominent.
If you look at the consistency of the leftists as well, is they go off like what the feminists did to popularize their belief, which is standpoint theory, right? So we're not going to tell history through an objective lens. We're going to tell it through the lens of the oppressed person, right?
absolutely.
And what's interesting about that is the best way to do that is by killing the patriarchy. So destroying the man that is the head of the household. If you can do that, if you can feminize the little man that's coming from the father, then you can essentially do everything else, because now women are interchangeable widgets with the man, and they also have the same level of power, which is what they're kind of doing with Trump now. Is we remove the masculinity, we remove the patriarchy, which is toxic for us, and we put in place something else.
What's that something else?
Well, they have nothing but their first step.
I think of the left as fire. With the right components, it will burn, and it will spread, and it will consume, and it will destroy, but it does nothing else.
What they're talking about nowadays is either climate change and or LGBTQ rights. That's like their only
Not climate change anymore.
Well, kind of a little bit, or Palestine.
Abortion.
Yeah, I think climate change
Love.
as an issue doesn't work for them anymore because they're torching electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Well, you know what else is funny? It's a contradiction right there, right? So they say LGBTQ rights. You ask them why. Well, because people would need to do a specific action right now for the short term to keep them in the long term. But with climate change, it's we remove all duties from, or we implement a lot of duties short term. So long term, our kids can have a great life. So they do the opposite. They say we don't need duties, but then we need duties.
But they would make the argument that the reason that they're torching Teslas and stuff is because it's fighting fascists.
Yeah.
So like it's like, well, we have to fight the fascists because if the fascists get in charge, or the fascists are in charge, so we have to fight the fascists. Once the fascists are not in charge, once we're back in power, then we'll worry about the climate.
I will say this: even though the Antifa and the far left are against Teslas and EVs, I'm still also against Teslas and EVs. I still hate EVs. I'm not that much of a contrarian where just because they also hate Tesla, like I would never buy a Tesla. Still, I refuse to autopilot. I will not live in the pod. No autopilot for me.
But even when they say fascist, they mean patriarchy as well. But there's a guy named Jim McNamara. He did a study. It was 2,000 different mass media portrayals of men. And he was seeing that over 75% of these big media outlets, like news articles, media channels, they would speak of men in the way of they are villains, they are abusers, they are philanderers. Yeah. They would speak of them negatively. So if you can spread this propaganda, we can destroy the patriarchy. That's what they're doing with the same thing with Trump as well.
You know,
So, real quick, I got a list of these swattings. I believe that's.
Oh, jeez Louise.
What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 swattings. I think this may actually be missing Do they have a Grage in there? They do have him in there, don't they? They do have him in there.
Yeah, Dustin.
And do they have? I don't think they have Joe Pags though, do they?
I don't know what his Twitter handle is.
Joe Talk Show. Joe Talk Show's in there. Okay.
I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but it seems as though there's some sort of pattern.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're targeting largely people on the right with swattings.
Yeah.
And so what did we count to? Was it 15?
Hickory, that Ivory Hickory?
I don't know.
I don't look it up.
I don't know who I'm
But,
fighting off either.
I noticed these are real Twitter
Oh, yeah, Stu Peters,
people.
too, geez.
These are people who are very active on Twitter and not on many other social
okay,
media
never mind.
platforms. From the names of these that I do recognize.
Yeah.
So this is from Data Republican on X, the swattings timeline. And so, yeah, I believe we have the full list here.
So in a matter of 7 days, they hit what you said, 18 or something.
The time is in UTC +2. Why?
Where is that?
That's, yeah, what is that?
Yeah, but the world lives
Germany?
off of EST.
Where's this person
How
from?
dare they? How dare they?
It might be
Data Republican.
Germany or the Netherlands.
Everything's EST.
Where's Data? Yeah.
Europe somewhere?
Well, yeah, of course.
You guys don't count over there. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's interesting that these are mostly Twitter people, not not TikTokers, not YouTubers. Seems targeted. Obviously, the timeline, a lot of these are happening very close together.
Not politicians. There's people who go on X and
But
get
there's
their-
also something to say about if you are big enough, you don't publicly talk about all of your swattings. If you have, Fox News, Daily Wire, so on.
Yeah.
Politicians also, I don't think, want to publicize this because there is some fear of this encouraging more attacks once you publicize them. So we're hoping to see a reduction in that. And hey, maybe next time I'm in the press briefing room, I will try to ask Press Secretary Leavitt about these swattings.
Well, let's grab this story real quick. We'll try and get one more in here. This is from the Daily Mail. Woke activists attempt to torch Tesla charges ends in painful agony. A man accidentally set himself on fire when trying to burn down Tesla chargers to protest Elon Musk. Daily Mail, when you are burning down infrastructure, it is not protesting. It is terrorizing.
Yep.
Daniel Clark Pounder, 24, allegedly burned 3 Tesla chargers in a South Carolina parking lot and also apparently inadvertently set his clothes with Molotov cocktails on fire on March 7th. He spray painted in red, "Long live Ukraine" and F Trump on the pavement next to the charging stations. Okay, guys, why does this man, it's an honest question.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're listening, you're watching at home, comment. Why does this man care so much about Ukraine that he would commit felonies?
But it's literally just anti-Trump.
Yeah.
It's whatever Trump is, whatever they perceive Trump as being for, they're against, and vice versa. So Trump doesn't support sending infinity money to Ukraine. So that means they support sending infinity money to Ukraine.
So you're telling me stealing Jordans isn't a good act of protest?
That is likely.
Yeah, there's no actual real reason that he would care besides what Phil just said.
They represent nothing.
Yeah, zero.
You know, it's fascinating to me
Anti-social.
because I was talking about that punk rock band from 20 years ago, and it's not just one. I mean, how many punk bands are just aligned with the machine state and the military-industrial complex?
Dude, my whole youth.
Every one
I
of them.
lost all my youth bands that I loved growing up. They're all no skills.
The Defiant is not.
Fair enough. And
The Defiant-
Johnny Rotten's not.
Johnny Rotten is not. And yeah, what he said, the liberals became the annoying twats.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pete Parada, Dickie Barrett, and the crew over in the Defiant. They opposed the machine. They stood up for themselves. And I believe a couple guys in the bands are just friends of those and stood by their friends. And they have really great music. Dead Language is an instant hit. Wonderful band. But it's crazy that, I was thinking about this because I got into a spat with this punk rocker recently. So when I was a kid, I listened to this band. I won't get into too much detail. Made a video about how I was disappointed in the direction that they went. They issued a response to me saying, here's what they think about you or whatever. I didn't read it. I don't care. And I was just thinking man, to see Rage Against the Machine, rage on behalf of the machine is kind of unsurprising because I never viewed them as real. But these punk bands were always in the gutter. And now they're in support of the military-industrial complex.
Dropkick Murphy.
How does that make sense? You come to me. If, it's funny because... in response to this, Rolling Stone asked me to comment on this spat with this band. And I was like, imagine going to the lead singer 20 years ago and telling them, this punk rock band that was ragging on Democrats, that in 20 years they would be performing for Democrats at a rally. They'd scream in your face. Now they're right there. They're right there cheering. If you went to me as a teenager and lined up everything that was going on, I'd be like, huh. So I'm anti-war at 39 years old? Yeah, you complain about foreign policy and Barack Obama all the time. You go to me when I'm 18 and I'm about to cast the ballot for Barack Obama, you're going to regret it. I'd be like, really? Like, yeah, this guy's a warmonger. I know, he's probably a warmonger. Like, everybody's got me convinced it's going to be different. If you said, yeah, in 20 years, you'll host a show where you complain about the exact same things you're complaining about now. You know that song you wrote when you were 15? You're actually going to publish it at 36 or 37 years old, and the lyrics still line up with everything you're mad about. I'll be like, oh, sounds like exactly who I am. You go to these punk rock bands, and you say, in 20 years, you're going to be headlining for Democrats. And they did. It makes literally no sense. Here's a guy, for literally no reason, spray painting Ukraine on the ground. That guy 3 years ago didn't even know Ukraine existed. Yeah. And here he is now destroying his life, committing felonies in the name of a country he's never been to and couldn't find on a map. It's a cult.
There's extra layers of irony here because Elon Musk was actually instrumental in helping Ukraine fight back Russia with Starlink.
Oh, yeah.
And without those abilities, the communications would be complete crap. And Elon Musk, again, because of some of his rhetoric surrounding this war, does not get any credit, although he should be. And I think he's taking a loss on a lot of this stuff, or he has contracts with the government and there's some conflict of interest there going on there. But he is helping Ukraine physically fight this war back. And this is the thanks Elon Musk gets. So again, the layers of irony with people who usually care about climate change going after EVs, and then, you know, Elon Musk actually helping Ukraine, but him writing, what was it? Something about Ukraine on the layers of hypocrisy here. I don't know. It doesn't matter. So long as it's perceived as anti-Trump, though.
Long live Ukraine.
I was debating a lady recently.
Wait. Sorry. He said the Ukraine. That's
not kosher.
That's blasphemy.
Yeah.
Ruh-roh.
I was debating a lady a few weeks ago at a women's march, and I was saying we need to save these babies from abortions, and she was saying, why don't you guys start saving the kids overseas, like Palestine? I was like, okay, so you're anti-war. Yes, we need to stop funding Israel. And I said, okay, so you're okay with Trump right now. Stop sending money to Ukraine. And all of a sudden she was, no, they need the money.
Yeah, it's a cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, let me check Twitter to see what my prominent liberal personality said about this, and then I'll tell you if I agree or not. That's why they don't do shows like this. Or when they do, they get embarrassed.
Yeah. Like, what's his name? That young kid that came?
Which, Luke Beasley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him to debate Enrique Tarrio, and he said,
okay. Well, Dean would have been a victim of that too, and Parker as well.
Yeah, these guys, the thing about Jubilee, people watch that stuff, is that it's orchestrated.
Yeah.
If you put someone in a room and go live and just say, talk, then you're going to see how things play out. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people just start yelling and it makes no sense and they'll look bad. Sometimes people will not know what to say. They'll look bad. Who knows? What? But with Jubilee, like they had that one, this is why I don't respect Jubilee. They had Ben Shapiro and they just let someone gish gallop. Which, if you're not familiar, it means they literally just started saying things rapidly without giving Ben Shapiro a chance to respond. So Ben just sat there, and then they got all smug about it and smirked, and then everyone cheers, and the liberals go nuts sharing it. I don't need to support a show that creates leftist cannon fodder or leftist red meat for no reason and accomplishes nothing. And it was edited to do that. If I did a pre-taped show, and someone like we're doing this culture war debate show, if someone was on stage and then just gish gabs for 5 minutes, I'm going to be like, you do know we're cutting that out of the show, right? Like, we ain't playing that game with you. We're going to give you a grandstanding opportunity like a member of Congress. Now, if you have a point to make, this is what I can't stand because people love to do this. Gish gallop is probably the most common thing you see. It's where someone will say, oh, yeah, well, Trump did X, Trump did Y, Trump did B. Nancy Pelosi said C. And then, you know what? When I'm talking about Joe Biden, and you're like, whoa. We have to address each point you're making. You have to make a point, and then we get a counterpoint. We debate that issue. You can't say 27 things at once. That's what they do.
I would say that Jubilee is helping the conservatives a lot more. Because people with the Michael Knowles debate, all the comments were anti-LGBTQ. All of them.
But I think that's a product of the general structure of American population.
30% of America's. Yeah.
No, but even because if you go look at the Sam Cedar ones, all of them are Sam Cedar crushed them. Like he has a coherent worldview and they don't. So if you look at these LGBTQ ones where they do have a chance to open their mouth and a few words utter out of their mouth, you get to see their true colors. You
know, the thing about Sam is that he's got like a high school equivalent education, and I'm not saying that to drag him.
At best.
Again, I'll stress this to all his fans. I am not saying this to be like, oh yeah, well he's dumb. I'm saying. When I tried debating him, it was like 7 years ago. This is like the famous moment where I mentioned that his view on universal health care was basically an argument between deontological moral ethics and utilitarianism. And he says, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, oh, At that point, I should have said, okay, Sam, read some philosophy books to better understand moral ethics and philosophy, and then maybe we can try and understand the world together. But I should probably just say, if you don't know what these things are, I don't know how we have a conversation. Instead, I made the mistake of trying to dumb it down so that someone of his limited knowledge, again, not meant to be an insult, I'm saying he literally didn't know what deontology is. If I try to dumb it down so he can comprehend that, he started mocking it and making jokes about it. It's like, okay, so he literally can't comprehend, nor can he hold a serious conversation. And then I think you had the famous moment you asked him about consequentialism.
Yeah, utilitarianism. Because what I established at the beginning was like, well, you gotta hear, when you hear this guy's show, all he does is just talk a bunch of smack. And he says Trump is evil, conservatives are evil, religion is evil. But I asked him, on what basis? Is it a preference? He said, yes, it's a preference. He even admitted on his show after, it's all a preference. So if it's all a preference, if we take trans rights away, women's rights away, you have no problem with that. So anything he said after that was a self-contradiction. It was a self-refutation. So if you say it's all a preference and then you put into the purview of morality, that's a self-refutation.
Right.
So he doesn't know what so if you have...
He could not comprehend what you just said to me right now.
Right. So the reason why this is important is if you have no system, if you say, oh, I'm just going to go with the flow, it's all arbitrary. It's all willing to change overnight. So if he says raping is wrong right now, tomorrow he could believe in rape.
Well, yeah. This is a prominent liberal podcaster with millions of subscribers, and this is the world they inhabit.
Right.
A great example, David Pakman. He had a video. He's got so many. It's remarkable, and I think this is why Democrats are in complete and utter disarray right now. It said, Donald Trump threatens to wipe blue states off the map. This literally never happened. Donald Trump said in the midterms, you're going to be surprised. In fact, these blue states might get totally disappeared from the map. We know what he was saying. He was saying that they're going to turn red.
Right.
There will be no more blue states because they will be red. And David Pakman titles it, Trump threatens to wipe blue states off the map. And he gets 500,000 views from it. And these low IQ individuals, limited comprehension, are going, oh, whoa, and they watch it. Mm-hmm. I imagine a good portion is hate watching, though. But
Sure.
Yep.
Is that why guys like Luke Beasley, like he's a pundit, he does a show, like he's supposed to be all knowledgeable and whatnot, and Enrique is just a dude who got sentenced sometimes and was living the life. Is that why he won't talk to Enrique?
Luke Beasley will not debate Enrique Tarrio because Luke Beasley doesn't know anything about January 6th. And there's that extremely viral clip where I was yelling at him saying, you want to put people in prison without, and everything. And part of what I was saying, I misspoke on one. I said a guy without charge or trial. I meant without trial or bail. Some people have contested whether it's his administrative actions that are doing that. But so I was not even perfect in that regard. But he doesn't know anything at all. And we recently had on Culture War, we had Prime, who was debating Gibbs, and we were discussing Doge. Now this dude, Prime, he's a Twitch streamer. Fantastic. Liberal guy, we argued. I thought he was wrong. He pushed back. He argued why he thought he was right. And I said, okay, so now we're arguing about our interpretations of the Constitution, and this is an actual legal debate that neither of us are qualified to actually answer. We just have preference, worldview on how the courts should operate based on these provisions. I can respect his arguments. With all due respect to Luke Beasley, he would say things like, they should go to jail. And I'd go, why? And he goes, I don't know. You tell me. I'd be like, what?
And he squint his eyes then.
And yeah.
He always squinted his eyes.
And then whenever I cited examples of things to prove a point, he would say, stop giving me anecdotes. And it's like, I am literally citing instances in which a thing occurred. So all he really had was the talking points.
The rhetoric.
But that's it.
Yeah.
They have emotions. So what is your goal in debating a liberal, right? I mean this rhetorically. Are you trying to convince them? Are you trying to convince people who are watching? Okay. If you're trying to convince people who are smart, very little need be done. Do your best. Do a show like this. Smart people will say, sure. I respect that you're treating me with intelligence. If you're trying to convince the typical liberal, then what you need to do is make fun of them. Because their reactions are entirely emotional and social orthodoxy based. So if you want to win a debate with Sam Cedar, you have to insult him. No matter what he says, you have to act like it's the stupidest thing anyone's ever said. That's how they debate.
That's crazy.
So if Sam says something like universal health care is a right, you'll be like, all right. Dude, you don't even know what rights are, dude. Oh, I can't believe you should be so stupid. Do you have any idea how stupid you look? And then what's going to happen is all the clips are going to go around and they're going to be like, oh, that was so dumb. I can't. But you make them look dumb and trigger their emotions. People on the right are going to be like, whatever. But that's the game.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah, I mean, everything off them is just emotions. I call it temporal myopia, right? So we make short-term decisions that are satisfying. So you can go raw dog 6 women right now, and I mean, you sacrifice the future. You sacrifice long-term results. So with these kids, I mean, for example, like when these leftists are pushing like all the gender dysphoria stuff, they don't actually care about the science. They say we have science on our side, but they dismiss the actual experts like Stephen Levine, Kenneth J. Zucker, Miriam Grossman. They dismiss the actual experts that were experts in gender dysphoria for decades, but they go with their own political agenda.
You know what I like to do, and I'd be curious to see what the reaction you get from this is. So if I was going to debate like some leftists and they were like, I think we should give kids gender affirming care, I would say to them, oh, absolutely, like 100%. Completely agree. Thank you. Because it's going to make a better future for us, right? And they say, yes. I'm like, I agree. Heaven help us if liberals keep reproducing. Am I right?
Exactly.
We want a conservative future. So I'm loving the Catholics. They have like 2.3 kids. But by all means, like, I really do respect you and all the work you do with making sure liberals stop having children because nobody likes them, right?
Right.
How do they respond to that?
Yeah, I mean,
Are they going to agree?
Well,
Sure.
There's one of two ways they can go. It's either number one, they are mature enough to consent. They know what they are consenting to when it's puberty blockers like Lupron, triptorelin, the gonadotropin releasing hormone agonist. They can either consent to these things and consent to the fact that they're not going to be able to have children in the future. Meaning that if you take that to its logical tail end, they can consent to having sex with overage people as well. They can consent to driving, to drinking. This is the extension of that. Or the opposite is they have some sort of mental health condition that if it's a mental health condition, like if you have an internal problem, why are you treating it cosmetically? Why are you chopping off your penis for a mental issue that you have? That doesn't make any sense because it's the same thing as potemnophilia, body identity integrity dysphoria.
Right.
It's you have a healthy limb, you can chop it off because you feel like it's not an integral part of your body. So how is that any different from chopping off your penis?
it's not.
We talk about that on the show.
Yeah.
Indeed. Let's go to Super Chats and Rumble Rants, my friends. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. I got to tell you, boys, we launched the Rumble Live lineup in the mornings. And the morning show, Timcast morning show, 45,000 concurrent viewers on Rumble.
Shoot.
20,000 on YouTube. So Rumble live stream was bigger than YouTube. Today, we had 40,000 on YouTube, and we have 32,000 currently on Rumble. Just shy of 32,000 and growing. So Rumble is starting to take over, my friends.
That's awesome.
The future is bright. And it was funny. Crowder had a really funny video where the Rumble logo was garroting the YouTube logo.
Garroting?
Do you know what a garrote wire is?
Don't.
Serge is smiling and nodding like, yeah. It's when the assassin takes the wire and wraps it around his
his
hands.
neck?
Oh, okay, all right.
Puts it around the neck.
Okay.
Garrote wire.
Nice.
We'll grab some Super Chats and Rumble Rants. Deplorable Miss Drake says, oh, wait, before we do, smash the like button, share the show. The uncensored call-in show will be starting in about 15 minutes at rumble.com/Timcast IRL, premium only. Sign up for Rumble Premium with promo code TIM10. And if you want to call in and have your chats featured on screen, you go to timcast.com, click join us, get in the Discord server. People are launching their own shows. They're launching apps. There is a fitness chat room. I kid you not. You don't need none of this fitness program stuff. You need to join the Timcast Discord. Surround yourself with people who are going to say, bro, did you lift today? And when you're like, I didn't, they're like, bro. And then you're going to feel bad and you got to lift.
Yep.
People are the best way to get in shape.
And there's book clubs there, knowledge. People like
clubs.
sharing
That's
and
right.
everything, you know?
Yeah. And shout out to Roman Nation, Quiet Part podcast. Very, very fun stuff. But in all seriousness, too, if you want to lose weight, if you're surrounded by people who are active, you will lose weight. If you make friends, and they're like, what do you guys want to do? And you're like, I don't know. And they say, hey, you guys going to walk down to the market and grab lunch? You say, okay. And you normally don't walk. If they help you create a routine of walking 3 miles every day just to go get food,
Yep.
your weight's going to melt right off. This is key stuff. All right, let's see what we got. Villainous V says, Tim, I finally got enough followers on Rumble to start streaming. Also, do you think the first Trump shooter went with a headshot to get on CNN because the prison pick went south? I don't know what you mean. What do you mean?
I look forward to hearing about that, Thomas Cook, because we don't know what's going on. So come on, Dan Bongino, please let us know what happened there.
Well, the JFK files tomorrow.
I don't care. I want to know about Thomas Cook.
Allegedly.
Honestly.
Well, Trump came out and said, this is different from him signing an executive order saying, I want them released. He came out and was like, it's going to happen.
I hope
We'll
so.
see.
Do you care more about him or Thomas Cook? Then we want Thomas Cook, right?
I want to know if Cook acted alone.
Right.
And same with the Ukraine guy. I don't know if he acted
You got a
alone.
good haircut.
They keep saying it's ultra.
Maybe. I just want to remind everybody, at the end of the show, in about 12 minutes, we're going to tell you how many years in prison Fauci will be getting. For every like we get is one more year. And it's binding. I'm gonna call Trump. I'm gonna say, hey, look,
Binding.
7,000 years in prison.
Listen, Don.
Tim has talked to him before. He's
ran a
got
poll.
inside.
Our viewers smashed the like button, so it's 7,000. Actually, I think it's gonna be like 20,000, to be honest.
Let's go.
Actually, if everybody super chatted right now, it'd be like 70,000 years. All right. MXPX 720. Real pause. I hope MXPX hasn't gone woke. Anyway, of all the days to not have Seamus on, I'm watching Leprechaun 1 in his honor. Where is Seamus? Where is he?
Oh, the movie he means? Oh, good show. Good movie.
There's that story I've told where Seamus walked in. True story. I was sitting on the couch at the castle watching Leprechaun. I can't remember which one, 3 maybe. And Seamus goes, hey, what's up, buddy? What you watching? And then he turns and looks at the screen. And right as he turns, it's the scene where the guy gets bitten by Leprechaun and starts turning into a leprechaun. And then he goes to the restaurant and he's like, I'll have French fries, waffle fries, mashed potatoes, tater tots, baked potato. And then Seamus was like, what is this racist thing you're watching? He turns Irish.
Poor Seamus.
Dude, it's true. Watch that movie. The guy orders a bunch of different potatoes because he's turning into an Irish guy.
That makes sense.
Poor Seamus.
Ur says, what is everyone's thoughts on a reporter hitting Trump with a mic stick?
Accident.
It was an accident, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said sorry. And it was like a light bump in the face, and he went like that, and nothing
He
happened.
looked at her, gave her nice eyebrows, like, okay.
Despite being an accident, I think it's incompetence, and she should lose her job regardless. It doesn't make up for it being an accident. And sorry you made that accident.
Should she work out more, or should she? Or should we bring down the standards?
Because she's not competent enough. If she's supposed to be holding the mic, you can't touch the. I've interviewed many politicians for many years, dozens of them, and I sometimes have to take my microphone back and forth. I've never made physical contact with their face. I'm diligent enough to know not to do that. And when you're with the president, especially with the security concerns around him, you are not competent enough to continue to be there. And if Press Secretary Leavitt is looking for somebody to replace her, I'd be happy to join the in-house press pool.
That's what happens when you get DEI hires. They can't hold up the stick.
All right. Kenneth Hart says, I'm now paying $10 monthly and getting Rumble Premium.
Nice.
I'm liking this whole lineup feature. As a trucker, I like hitting play and let it go all day.
Nice.
That is cool.
You start in the morning, you press go, you got 9 o'clock, I think it's Evita, 10 o'clock, you got Vince, 11 o'clock, you got Crowder, noon, you got me, 1, as of right now, it's Jeremy from the Courting for 2 hours.
He's going to switch, yeah.
Yeah, because Russell Brand, I think, is on vacation, and then it's going to switch with Russell Brand at 1.
Yeah.
And then and basically what's going on is you're watching, and it's like a network. It's like watching, you turn on the show, and all the shows just roll.
Who are the first 2 people? I don't never heard of them.
They got big shows.
Yeah.
Well, so
I'll check them out.
the 10 o'clock one is Bongino's show being hosted by his
Okay.
his guy that he brought into on the show for him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Crowder had 120,000 concurrent viewers.
That's insane.
Wow.
These guys,
Yep.
wow. Crowder's been killing it for
That is
years.
the biggest live show in the world right now, Steven Crowder.
Wow.
Do you think people should,
him.
like people like me that are on YouTube, do you think we should start moving over to Rumble a lot more seriously now?
Well, you should always do both.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting thing. I was on Liz Wheeler's show earlier, and before the show, we were just, like as we were getting set up, we were talking about the industry, and she was asking me about similar things, and I said, you know what's fascinating is Spotify did a big favor to Rumble, because when Spotify converted to video streams, the game changes. For a while, podcast sales were all audio, and nobody was in the YouTube game. There were a lot of people sold ads on YouTube. Obviously, big creators have ad reads and had for a long time. But the big major radio stations and big networks were like, YouTube? All the money was in podcasting because podcast audio ads were super valuable.
Yeah.
At the end of last year, there was a big wake-up call. And all these advertisers started saying, we want video. So Spotify, I don't know how long they've been working toward this, has converted to video podcasting. Now, we no longer say Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We now say audio, video. Mm-hmm. So here's our audio downloads. Here's our video streams. So Rumble just gets thrown into the mix with Spotify, Facebook, with YouTube. So when we have people coming to buy ads now, we are selling way higher since we've got on Rumble. Oh, wow. Our viewership's double. So since we added Rumble, for instance, today we had 40-something thousand concurrents. On Rumble, we have 32,000. That's since we launched on Rumble, our viewership has only gone up on both sides. So we're on for a live show, on YouTube, we would do 350 to 400, like about 350,000 on YouTube in the past couple of months. It was higher in the election season. It was at 500,000. Now it's 350. Totally normal. When it gets warmer out, people leave. But now, since adding Rumble, we're getting 800,000. Not to mention on the audio side, we're getting another 100. So we went from like 4 or 5 to like 8 or 900,000 by adding Rumble to it. I would say, in my view, with the whole argument being what's your reach across all platforms, you got to be doing all of them. So Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. I do believe you'll have better traction on Rumble. That's why this morning we did the lineup. My morning show on YouTube had 20,000, but on Rumble, 45. Rumble was specifically built as a video podcasting platform because of the censorship on YouTube targeting video podcasting. Right. So you've got all of these, I think it's like 70 million active users or something, which is massive. And they're looking for video podcasts. On YouTube, YouTube suppresses video podcasts. And they're like, we like podcasting, it's big, but we want people to watch Mr. Beast. So
over the next 5 years, where do you see Rumble and YouTube head to head?
YouTube is probably going to be the biggest player in the space for a very long time. But you take so I think it'd be silly to be like in 5 years, Rumble will be bigger than YouTube.
Right.
But I think Rumble's going to beat Spotify and Rumble already beats Spotify in podcasting. Rumble's going to get bigger because video podcasting right now is it. Cable TV networks are done. They're looking at look at MSNBC firing, selling off. This is it. They're like, okay, we can't do this anymore. They're going to start getting rid of the expensive hosts. They can't spend millions of dollars on anymore. Carriage fees can only last so long. People are canceling those contracts. And then they're going to say, we need video podcasts. Okay, good luck going on YouTube. You'll get banned in 2 seconds. You're going to struggle against their oppressive algorithm, which is trying to promote the likes of Mr. Beast. No disrespect, but that's what they're doing. You'll go on Rumble, and Rumble is promoting video podcast. So people need to be on Rumble.
Yeah.
I think right now, the way I describe it is this. You've got 3 prominent video podcasting platforms. YouTube is the biggest, then Rumble, then Spotify. If you go on Spotify, you're going to get nothing. There's nothing there. We do like 30,000 views on the show, on this show on Spotify. We get 10 times that on Rumble and YouTube.
Wow.
So I tell people, I've been saying this for years, if you're going to launch a new channel, Rumble is the place to go because you will be a small fish in a big pond. You go on YouTube, you're a small fish in the ocean. And then the YouTube machine is not going to try and promote you at all. In fact, they're going to screen and oppress and shut you down, especially if you're conservative.
And they give you an option to actually do the video, not just the audio. You don't have to do the video all the time. You can just put it in the background music, like PCC loves the background music. And then if you want to watch the video, then you can watch the video. You have 2 birds with 1 stone.
So the other thing that changed too is for a while, there was always questions from advertisers when we'd mention like, hey, we get X amount of views on YouTube, X amount on Rumble. They'd say, we're not familiar with Rumble, so we don't know. Now we just say, there's video streams and there's audio streams, and our video streams are 900,000. They say, okay, we're good. They're legit. The views are legit. We'll buy. And so our ad rates have gone way up. It's fantastic. Nice. Yeah, joining Rumble has like helped us massively increase revenue. We've got the network effect going on, which is basically the morning lineup thing. The strategy there is, I was talking to the guys at Rumble, and I was like, when people turn on Fox News, when people turn on CNN, the brand is all that matters. They're not saying, oh boy, I wonder if so-and-so's on. They don't go to Fox News on TV, and then after they do, search again for a Fox News host. No, you turn on Fox News plays. And I was like, that's what we want with Rumble. You turn on Rumble, Rumble plays. And so there are people who go to Rumble who would absolutely love to watch Crowder, but they're not searching for him. And I was like, make the lineup so when they go to watch their live morning news show, it's actually a 7-8 hour long news show. And then people can be introduced to all the hosts and just watch. So now viewership's massive. And that means, I think...
I did watch Jeremy today. I did for a little bit.
I think tomorrow, Rumble is going to have all of the top slots in the top live streams in the world. They already did with Steven Crowder. It's funny because Crowder was already like the #2 biggest stream in the world. But I think Dan Bongino was #1. He was averaging like 150 to 170,000 concurrents. Oh, insane. Yeah, and then Crowder was getting like second. Timcast IRL was actually on YouTube, getting sometime for a period over the election. We got third, and now we bounce between third place and 7th place. with the morning show. The morning show this morning, this is funny. The morning show in the lineup had more, as a single show, had more views than Timcast IRL on both Rumble. So the morning show had 65,000 combined, and Timcast IRL had 70,000 combined. However, the morning show had 45,000 on Rumble and 20,000 on YouTube. Timcast IRL had 41 on YouTube and 30 something. So it was like 70, 73 or whatever. But that means when the rankings come out, they don't rank by combined, they rank by peak. And so the morning show is actually going to beat Timcast IRL based on Rumble viewership. So
some of the
opportunity.
Some of the skepticism I have with Rumble is not even real. Just like I'm just curious. But people like Myron Gaines, they'll go on there, they'll say whatever, and I like that. I like that you can say whatever. But I'm curious. Eventually, will they turn woke as well?
I don't think so. I don't think Rumble will, because Rumble's built off of an ethos that is entirely separate from what YouTube was built off of. YouTube was a massive corporation, Google, and they were just marching with the machine. Rumble would immolate itself if it decided to start censoring people. And the other thing too is Section 230. YouTube plays fast and loose. Rumble doesn't have the grounds to play as fast and loose on Section 230. So Rumble's hands off. They're like, we don't go anywhere near editorial, because they're not going to be able to withstand the kind of. But more importantly, Dan Bongino is a major shareholder in Rumble.
Okay.
So it's like, bro, I trust Dan.
Yeah.
My friends, we're going to go to that uncensored call-in show, so smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Go to timcastpremium.com. It'll prompt you right there to sign up for Rumble Premium. This means you get access to the Green Room podcast, behind the scenes. Today was pretty funny. We were kind of just going off and being kind of crazy. So if you want to watch a behind-the-scenes rant about woke video games, and I complain about the new video game Split Fiction, I think it's called. I said they might as well just call the video game Sappho and Her Friend, if anyone knows what that means. No. And Phil, do you know what that means?
Sappho and Her Friend?
Yes. I'll explain it in the Uncensored show, and it's in the Green Room podcast. But yeah, sign up. And if you want to call into the Uncensored show, that's our Discord server at timcast.com. Join us. Be a part of the community. You can follow me on X and Instagram. Eleazar? Am I pronouncing it? Okay, I was like, I'm going to say it wrong. Do you want to shout anything out?
You can go to streetdebates.com if you want to support my work. No sponsorships, no censorship. Streetdebates.com or Eleazar Perez on YouTube. Thank you guys very much.
Eleazar, it's been a pleasure. I'm still having, not nightmares, but you and Sam Sater, that was crazy. I'm glad I saw that all over Twitter. Guys, my name's Elaad Eliyahu. You guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter under that name. Tim, thanks for having me. It's always a fun time here. Raymond G, how's it going?
Always great to have communists on the show. Thank you so much. Guys, Raymond G. Stanley Jr., God Bless America. You can find me anywhere online. I'm up and coming, blowing up artists in the Twitter world. Phil, you're up.
Raymond G throwing the shade. I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. Our new record dropped on January 31st. It's called Anti-Fragile. You can check it out on YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all at rumble.com/TimcastIRL in 30 seconds. Don't miss it. We'll see you there.